have such sights to show you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Four Dead Losers podcast. We are the Four Dead Losers. I'm Ramito.
Adam.
Justin.
Jordan. I'm back again.
He's back again.
You're announcing me as a special guest.
He's our new permanent member. I think it's kind of been decided at this point, right? Unanimously. He's the new.
I decided.
He decided.
So today we're going to be talking about the Terrifier 3. Yay. Our most anticipated movie of the year. I don't know the same about this movie all. I doubt it. So how exciting for us. Non-spoiler thoughts. Adam, what did you think?
I thought it was definitely an improvement on the third one. There was definitely moments that were not maybe as well done or certain things, but I think it fixed the biggest issue that I think most of us agreed on from number 2, which was pacing. Like, I felt like the pacing went a little bit quicker. There weren't too many spots where it felt like it dragged on. So the fact that it improved, we got a little bit more lore dump. We got some just more interesting moments with, our antagonist, if you will. And then kind of, I guess, going a little bit deeper with the protagonist a little bit and kind of how their characters have evolved and or devolved from the previous movie, I think was very interesting. So I would say, give an 8.5 out of 10. I like the movie. I thought that, again, objectively speaking, that you know what you're going into with this movie, so grading it in that capacity is how you're grading it. Like, you can't look at it as any other film because it's not like any other film. Like, it's its own different thing. So
yeah. All right, cool. Non-spoiler thoughts. Justin, what did you think?
I still think it's shitty. It's the same thing. It's the same thing you're gonna get from the first and the second one, albeit more like of a story, right? The first one didn't really have much of a story going for it. It just felt kind of like it was just treading along. The second one started developing that story, and here we get more on that story. The story itself isn't really that good, in my opinion. Like, everybody's there everybody's there for one thing, it's the kills, right? Nobody goes in the movie expecting a really good story. I mean, that's like a thing you said, right? So you can't really grade it off of that. I still think it's a pretty bad movie. I probably would give it I think I gave Terrifier 2 a 4. I think this one is a little bit better. So I don't know, maybe a 5, but
an average movie.
It's an average movie, yeah.
I was gonna say a 4.1.
Yeah, 4.1. 4.1 out of 10. But I don't know. I guess we could discuss later my gripes with it. But they did fix pacing, but they did kind of fall back on some other things that I felt like. So, yeah.
Okay. Jordan, non-spoiler thoughts. What did you think?
I'm a big critic of this series. I like to be a hater, so I feel like I'm a wild card. I don't know. I don't know if I'm a victim to the moment. I don't know. I felt like it was funnier this time, or it landed better with me this time, especially coming off the few last movies we watched.
Mm-hmm.
The actual film quality and the effects and all that looked great, in my opinion. It was refreshing to actually see an enjoyable movie, I guess.
They got a $2 million budget versus $250,000. I mean, it's a pretty big increase.
The pacing was better, which we touched on.
Yeah.
It felt like I would have been willing to sit through another 30 minutes, I think.
Oh, God.
I'm excited for the next one. I think this is crazy. I don't think anybody would expect it. I'm gonna say a 9 out of 10.
What?
Oh, dang.
All right, I'm leaving.
It's a good movie. It is. So not spoiler thoughts for myself, right? I'm not gonna harp on what everybody already covered. I loved this movie. I thought it was great. So I'll just go ahead and skip it straight to my ratings. So again, just like Terrifier 2, I think we have to separate this with subjective and objective, right? So objectively, I think this movie is probably like a 6.5 out of 10. Like it's just like you said, right? You already know what you're getting into. You're there to see all the wacky kind of ways that Art the Clown and all the other characters kill each other, right? All that kind of stuff. And just like you're saying, the story is gonna fall second, right? Like if we look at other slasher movies for like their stories, right? Like what is it? Like Halloween 2018 kills and ends. Like they tried to do an actual story along with it, and it just.
To be fair, in 2018, it started. It was
2018
developing well. It had the potential to make a really good story.
Yeah.
And then we know what happens after that. Yeah.
They're kind of shit.
Yeah.
Amanda loves those movies. So
As you wear,
those,
as
as
you
I
wear
wear
all
all
these
That's why I thought about it. Subjectively, I think this movie is solid. I love it. When I left the theater, I gave it a 10 out of 10, but I think that was just a hype after seeing it. So I'm going to pull back my rating a little bit and say that it's a 9.5 out of 10. There's one major gripe that I have with the movie that keeps it from being 10. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and get into it. This is your spoiler warning. So if you haven't done so already, like, comment, subscribe, do all the algorithm stuff. We'll really appreciate it. You can go watch the movie and come back while we discuss it. So this is going to be your spoiler warning. We're going to get into it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, so I guess we're gonna preface with we are not gonna do our normal breakdown of every scene, every detail. We are going to break up the movie into specific questions and categories that we had and wanted to discuss. So this will be different from our previous episodes if you're used to catching us. So I think either Miro or Jordan, I think you are leading us in our questions and our talking points.
Yeah, so one of the big things that, I don't know how true it is or how much of it was marketing, but a lot of, some sources said that a lot of people had walked out in the first, 15 minutes of the movie, the first
threw
scene.
Up, right? They even threw up.
Yeah, they even barfed. I don't know if I believe that. Maybe one later on, but I don't know about this one.
Yeah.
And so essentially, let me ask y'all, what did y'all think of the first, the opening scene,
I thought it was interesting in that this was like you said, a very big talking point from people that had seen the movie previously at film festivals and stuff. And
you want to say what happens?
I mean, if we really want to go into full detail, I think just to summarize it very quickly, it's just basically art.
It's a family killing.
Yeah, it's art. Or a family thinking that, or say family, a kid thinking that Santa Claus is on the roof, telling the parents they don't believe her, they get her back to bed. It turns out being art, and art, basically does his thing, but it felt a little bit more darker. It definitely, there was not a whole lot of his normal demeanor, character things, at least for the first half of it, which I thought was interesting because I was like, man, people had talked about this movie maybe darker and less quote unquote comedic, where he does his weird personality stuff. But I would say the scene seemed, I'm trying to say the right words. I felt like it was overhyped, and because nothing really happened that's any different than any of the other movies. But I will also throw out there, I thought the practical effects were not very good on the first part, and that actually worried me. I told my wife, I was like, if that's how it's going to be the rest of the movie, I'm concerned, because it did not look like his best. The whole basically him with an axe for the entirety of the time, and it just, I don't know, it just looked fake, which is odd because usually most of the stuff he does looks either good or B movie-ish, but it didn't look all that great. So I don't know. For me, the opening scene was just okay.
I think so too.
I think it was just okay, and it set up the whole it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah,
but
I think the thing that my thought process behind why people supposedly would have thought this was a lot darker was, in the whole series right prior to this, you never actually really know of Art actually killing a kid, right? And this is the first.
It is not.
What?
He did it in All Hallows Eve.
Oh, I've never seen that.
In the All Hallows Eve.
Oh yeah,
he did. Yeah. Now they didn't show it, but they didn't show this one either.
Well, they showed the aftermath. Right?
Yes, but the aftermath All Hallows Eve 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so All Hallows Eve 1, but with 2 TOO. Okay, continue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, because then that kind of blows my thing out of the water. But again, that's also more underrated movie, and I guess people don't really associate that with the whole series in general, right? So people could have easily overlooked that and saw that and been like, "Oh man, this guy's killing kids! This is crazy!"
I had the same train of thought.
That, and that's why I was like, but I agree. I think it was really overhyped. I went in really tense, and then when I started seeing it, I was like, "Oh, this is a little bit more tame than what I was expecting." I was expecting something albeit closer to the infamous bedroom scene.
Yeah.
But No, I didn't. I thought it was pretty tame compared to the other stuff that he does too.
Yeah.
Yeah, to touch on a couple things we covered, I do think in the opening scene there's this like the lady gets hit in the head with the axe and they show it close up, and I think that's one of the moments when like the special effects kind of look off, I guess. Like
Yeah, like the practical effects. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was,
I don't know. I thought even just like the dad in the bed too, like it just looked very like almost like a CPR dummy getting hit with an axe, and then it like just has like the whatever effects. And for it being a, what was it, a $4 million movie, $2 million? No, $2 million, $2 million movie. I felt like some of the effects in previous movies were better. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I thought that was the other thing that kind of was like, that's not okay. I don't like that. If that's the direction they were going, I was very nervous for anything else past that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would like to note that this is the first film where like Damien wasn't head of practical effects.
what?
Like there was a lot of other, like
I didn't
he
know
I didn't know
did
that
an interview
either.
on Dead Meat actually, which is how I found this out. But he talked about how like he had his hand in it here and there, and obviously like it's his ideas and his.
Yeah.
But because of the budget for this film, they were able to like
Hire
actually
people.
bring in a lot of other people.
So probably that makes a whole lot of sense because this did not look that.
So I feel
great.
like that changes the consistency compared to other
Mhm.
ones.
Yeah, but there was another scene later that we'll talk about that I thought was the best practical effect of all the movies that they've done. But that was just me. But yeah, I can, now that you say that, that makes a whole lot of sense because I was like, that doesn't look good at all.
Ultimately, I like the vibe, the intro set. I do agree. Like, I'm glad we got thrown right into it, and it doesn't do the thing other horror films do, where like the cold open ruins the whole plot of the damn film.
Yeah.
And I think it had people kind of like, holy shit, we're starting with this because usually kids are like off limits. But
Yeah.
To an extent, yeah.
To an extent, yeah. And I still, and again, I feel like it's still relatively tame. I feel like they could have easily went overboard, right? They could have actually showed him killing the kid, right? And that would have
And
been.
they didn't.
But
They
they
didn't
didn't.
in any of the part of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, if they did, though,
Which
that would've been-
no,
that
but I
probably
think
would've-
I think that a lot of people were telling that does like cross a line, and a lot of people would not be okay with that because that's like, I mean, that's not.
Like I get it,
Yeah.
right? Like
He wants
I'm
to
not-
push the limits,
Hold
doesn't?
on.
He's like, I'm
Yes,
not a
you're
kid.
right.
He's like, I'm not a kid killer.
I'm not trying to say that
Kids
killing
should die.
kids is good. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that I don't understand like the line, right? Because have these people never seen it? That's what he does.
He kills kids, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't
in the-
act to like show. It doesn't show the act of it. It's just the
I'm saying it
associated
shows,
of like taken, right?
Well, that's what
Taken.
I'm saying.
Right,
Well, in the remake of it, he
Pulls
Georgie's arm.
off Georgie's
No,
arm. Yeah, I get.
But like,
It's still kind of tame though. Like, I don't
right,
know.
that's what I'm
I mean-
saying. And like for people to, I guess, claim that this movie draws a line when they didn't. They showed the aftermath. They showed that the kid hacked up
Yeah.
with the axe, but they didn't show him actually doing anything. You hear it,
You hear it,
and,
yeah.
and that part kind of like made me.
Which is like that. My big thing was like the mom didn't hear any of it. I think that was my
Yeah.
biggest gripe too. I'm like, literally, he's doing his thing on the like, you know what I mean, on
The
the
other side of the
room.
bed,
yeah, in the same room on the same bed, and then like literally.
Well,
doesn't
even like
wake up.
even when the dad was getting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
like, she was,
That's what I'm saying. They
The
didn't-
deepest sleeper, right?
Yeah.
Just awake.
Yeah.
He's just awake.
Like, bro.
She woke up to the little girl, right? Just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, but then
But
you're
not to hacking, right?
boom,
Yeah.
and the bed like moving,
Shaking crazy, right? No.
This was nowhere near the grossest scene to me.
No,
not
There's
even
a
close.
scene later on.
Not even
that got me
close. I don't
really
even think it's like top 3.
I think I guess we don't have to go too much more into detail, but I think this is one of those, I feel like, and I hope it's not just a common thing, but like, because the second one had the bedroom scene, and like, that was a big like point of like people leaving at
Yeah,
one point
I
because
thought-
it was so just gruesome that now it feels like they have to establish like that's the thing, right? In this movie, that, oh man, when is somebody going to walk out? When is somebody, and I think that's what it was. It was just all hype to help feed
Yeah.
the idea of them to go, which stinks because I think the movie, like for the practical effects and some of the other things, like could stand out on its own, and they're just using that like as a media ploy to get people. And I mean, everybody does it to an extent, so I
Yeah.
can't say that you shouldn't do that, but
Yeah.
I think it was
They're leaning too
really,
far into
really,
it, yeah.
really shown that that wasn't true. Like it was kind of a false narrative.
Yeah.
yeah, I hear
Fake
what you're
news,
saying.
fake news.
Fake
Fake
news.
I thought, well, I mean, all in all, I'll say that I did like the opening scene. I did enjoy it. I thought it was nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah. after the whole opening scene, we get put back into the Terrifier, that fun house that we were at the end of the
Part
second
two.
movie. And essentially, like, the police show up, or I guess one cop shows up to the ride, sees Art's decapitated body on the ground. The decapitated body chokes the cop and then rips his head off and puts his head
Jeepers
on
Creeper style, right?
Yeah.
I was like, what?
And then he goes to break out
Vicky.
Victoria.
Victoria.
Victoria from the
Nut house.
from the nut house, I guess, from the actual psych ward. We get a pretty good kill of Chris Jericho.
Oh yeah, the rest
That
are
was
right.
really good.
Made me
Yeah.
happy.
So basically, what happens is that I think Victoria is holding him by the neck, and with his other hand rips off his jaw, and then
Yeah.
Art the Clown just
Pulls off
his
another.
skull.
Yeah, that was a pretty good kill. I was like,
Yeah,
that was
and then they leave. The headless body puts Art's body with duct tape around on this thing, and then they end up in this house. In the house, actually, thank you for letting us go back, because in the house, Victoria unalives herself.
Yeah.
Which is really important for stuff that comes out later. And then Art the Clown is just kind of sitting in the attic.
He goes to rest for 5 years.
For 5
Yeah, he
years,
basically
yeah.
gets on a rocking chair and looks out a window, and he's rocking.
Yeah.
It is, again, not going into too much detail. I would like to come back at some point about this scene, because I think me and Ida and I think us have talked a little bit, figuring out there was a weird demeanor change with Art in that particular scene. He seemed very disgruntled, unhappy,
Yeah.
and we've never seen it in that regard. He almost had a
It seemed
disdain.
like he was annoyed.
Yeah, annoyed and
Yes.
disdain for
For
Victoria, and I don't know. So we can maybe come back to that later. But I thought that was weird, because then following that, whenever we come back, it's there. I will also point out, I also imagine this is his place of rest in, where he does things in between the movies, because we've never actually seen, or they've talked about, or whatever, where he goes. It's always looked like a weird basement inside of an industrial building.
And I think
this
it did change from the first one, no?
This one seems like the same.
First and the second movie, he goes to the same place
Yeah.
or whatever.
And I
But
think
it's like a factory or something.
No, I think it's the same place. I just think he doesn't go down there. I think he goes up, because why else would he come to the same facility again? He knows about it, so obviously I think that is the place. It just looks different because he's using the upper floors instead of the lower underneath floors. I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. And the lighting is different, right? It's not the red.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's like a Jeepers Creepers thing where he relocates.
No, I think that is his location.
Oh,
He's a creature of habit.
How do you know? How do you know it's a creature of
because
habit?
his habit is to kill people.
Okay, whatever.
Does Mike Myers not always go back to the same house?
That he lived there. I don't care. Whatever.
Hey,
Does Jason not always end up in
Camp Crystal Lake.
Do the Nightmare on Elm Street happen on any other street?
but Elm Street? No.
All right,
I
whatever.
rest my case. All right, continue. All right.
Were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say Michael Myers moved under the highway.
See?
He's in the sewer.
That's why that movie sucks.
That's why I
He's no longer in Haddonfield.
He is in Haddonfield. Still in Haddonfield.
Oh man. So then we end up, we go back to just basically like a different facility, and it's sorry, not Victoria, Sienna, and she's being checked out of this mental health facility. So her uncle comes to pick her up, and just talking about this, I realized the difference between the two, right? Like Victoria, when they go to break her out, it's very violent and dark.
Oh yeah,
as
I
far
never
as
thought about the contrast of that.
yeah, it's the lighting is very dark. People die, right? We just talked about Chris Jericho dying, but when they pick up Sienna, it's very everything's bright, everybody's smiling and all that good stuff. So we meet the uncle. His name doesn't matter. He's married to Sienna's mom's sister. He takes her back to their house. We meet her aunt. Her name's not important. And we meet her cousin, a little cousin. He has to be 12 max, something like that.
Gabby.
And her name's Gabby, yeah. So then it's just the whole thing of Christmas time is coming up. Yay, family matters, that kind of stuff. We find out that Jonathan's at college, right? He's trying his best to move on. And then the movie's just kind of basically like that with a bunch of kills in between.
Yeah. just starts going
Yeah.
progressively.
I think one of the big parts of the story that talks about the kind of devolution, or I guess I wouldn't call it an evolution of the characters, kind of like they're regressing, but basically Sienna and Jonathan is revealed pretty quickly that they both have basically PTSD.
Yeah,
like they're struggling very heavily, and I thought that I think Sienna actress did that way better than Jonathan's. But I think both of them still like portrayed the characters in that like there's a little bit deeper like growth there than in the other film. The other film they just kind of did things, whereas this one like you could tell like they were getting very emotional about like the situation and like having to talk about it and all this stuff. So I thought that was an important part of their characters that got added to the movie that made it more than just a random sequel. Like, they actually put thought into it.
Yeah, Lauren Lavella, she's like a really good actress.
Yeah.
So to give you an example, pretty much the only scene that we get, like I guess that we see it through her eyes, is that she sees her dead friend Brooke at the dinner table, and she's basically saying like, "You're the reason why I'm dead, XYZ," and then like Sienna's just like staring at this
empty space.
Yeah, empty space pretty much, while the rest of the family is having a normal conversation. So she's good, she's pretty messed up, which is understandable, right? And then
I would say, and then to just summarize, along with all the stuff that's happening, Art is joined by Victoria, which was obvious from the different trailers, the different posters, things like that. And we just get a lot of lore in this movie. That's, I think, the big thing for this movie is lore, getting deeper into like the background of like, because nobody really knew what was going on, and getting that story progressing to see Art terrorizing yet again during Christmas and all his stuff, and eventually getting to the final scene, which is Art, Victoria, and Sienna basically basically meeting at the same time, and then that gets us to, I guess, us talking about the final scene. Yeah.
Well, I did want to mention something beforehand. So in that time that Sienna was in the hospital and Jonathan was living his life, he did write her letters and stuff like that. And one of the things that we got, because he was doing research into like demonology and stuff like that.
Right?
Yeah,
it's confirmed that Art is a demon.
Something
right?
like that. Or Victoria. Victoria
is the demon,
or there's a demon inside of her body.
Demon,
So essentially, what happens is that, according to Terrifier lore, demons have to enter a body of somebody who's recently deceased and has committed like horrendous crimes and stuff like that. And so the demon decided to go into Victoria because of the murders that she had done, right? So like the TV host.
So was she just like extremely fucked up the whole time? Like she's just deranged, or like why does it ever explain why she even started killing people in the first place?
Because she got, talking about in this movie or
in general, just like the whole like
because she Monica? Because I think so. Here's the thing. I think. And again, this would be going against what you read, but I'm 90% sure that because there's a quote later on that the demon uses, without going into too much detail, we'll talk about it, but had said that like I had to work hard to get through Vicky to get to her because like of whatever. But I think her at the end of the first movie going into the second with just getting the face all messed up and all that, like I think that pretty much hit her at a low point. Like I thought it was almost like kind of like how possession movies are, like when you're at your lowest is when it's easier for them to overtake you, and so she was at her lowest. Like
so she was
already well, no,
I
don't think so, but I think because I think she was possessed when she did that last attack, the first attack. I think she was by that point
on the
TV host. I think so, yes, because that was a whole year's time where she was at the hospital, where you just pointed out, which I didn't even think about it, but like. Our protagonist had such a nice hospital. It was nice and friendly and inviting and all about like mental health. Whereas this other one seemed very like criminally insane. Like which
it makes sense.
Makes sense because she attacked the host. So that's why I think she, at least at that point, kind of was, because then that was her devolving into what happened at the actual facility. So. That's just my view on it. Again, I could be wrong, and again, I think that's the thing is like there's not 100% like accurate lore happening and
yeah.
explanation. So I think there's some room for interpretation.
I think also, like, from what I understand, the demon that's possessing Victoria is the same, like, little girl from
The little pale girl.
the first film. As far as I understood the lore.
So they only make one reference to the little pale girl in this movie, and that's a letter from Jonathan to Sienna, where he says we have to kill the little pale girl.
See, this story's so like.
I think it's there. It's there. It's just it's not fully fleshed out yet, and that's a good thing because there's no if you overdo it and you do like a Hellraiser 2, then it like just kind of was a waste.
I think they're just pulling out a whole bunch of branching points and they're trying to just figure out a way to connect them all. But I don't know. It's
good writing to me.
Damien stated that like with the second one he knew where he wanted it to end. Like he knows where he wants the series to end. So like I think part of it's also struggling with like every horror film we see, or at least the ones we've been watching recently, have like this big lore dump where like the character's just explaining it to the audience.
That makes sense.
And I feel like
this is trying to piece it off.
Avoid that.
He's trying to just give nuggets, and.
But my understanding is that like at this, basically Victoria's like at this point,
she's the medium.
As we approach the final scene, like Art's basically just her henchman. Like she's.
You see, that's what I got.
One is what I understand.
Yeah. So the way, so I agree with you. The way that I thought about it was that Art himself is more of like a henchman,
an emissary.
Yeah,
doing the dirty work.
Do the dirty work for the demon. Like he goes and he sows the seeds of chaos to help, like that somebody will catch along the way. And
so
then,
is Art a demon, or is he just a crazy deranged guy that keeps coming back?
Well,
because of the demon?
so I think the way that I think about this, like I don't know if demon's the right word, but I don't know what he is, right? So like just in every single thing, how depending on what franchise or series or whatever you're talking about, they're going to be treating these things differently.
Yeah.
Right. So like if we take the case of Dungeons and Dragons, demons and devils are completely separate.
True.
But if we take like The Exorcist, right, Satan is one thing, and what's his name, Pazuzu, the demon is like something that works with him for him or something like that, right? So like it just
it's like that kind of maybe.
So we don't so we don't have the hierarchy of like what all these things are. So to me, what Art is more equivalent to a henchman than he is to an actual demon, right? So like he goes and he does whatever he wants, and
as long as he's causing havoc,
as long as he's wreaking havoc, and he's gonna get someone who probably survives Victoria right down to their weakest point, and then that's when the demon's gonna try to get into themselves.
I think
which is why, like, sorry,
I was just gonna say, like, I think the whole time this demon, like, starting with the pale girl, is like influencing him, but obviously, like, not every single kill, like him. We'll touch on it, but like him going and seeing Santa isn't like something that the demon is making him do, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna be a killer either way. Yeah. And he's not like he's a good person without the demon influencing him.
Right.
But like it's like if the demon wasn't there and was influencing him, now it's just taking like a physical body, I guess.
Yeah. And so like that's kind of what this franchise is, right? Is that like he's for the first movie it's him trying to get or helping the demon corrupt Victoria, but then the second and the third one, it's him trying to corrupt Sienna, because in the end, in the final battle that we'll go ahead and get into, I think this would probably be a good, leading a transition, is that like the demon tries its best to leave Victoria and to go into Sienna. But she's too strong, like her will is too strong, so it's not able to get in fully.
Yeah, I do think breaking down Victoria was like just part of the timeline to eventually try to get to Sienna, because we find out she's like
important. Yeah, she's important. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, and I think it was easy to get to Victoria because Victoria had almost nobody else at that point. Like, it was her younger sibling. Her younger sibling that gotten taken out by Art, and she saw that, and then she didn't even get to escape. But then she did, but really she didn't, because like she, it afflicted, and like she has. She's not able to like really recover from that, and mentally, physically, just so that was her at her lowest point. So I think that's what, like you were saying, it's kind of helping the case of the actual entity trying to get to Sienna. So
yeah.
Do we want to bring up the sword pre-final scene, or we want?
I think we can bring it up during the final scene. You can bring it up. Okay.
We're going into it.
I think we're going into it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So the final battle scene, essentially, what to kind of lead into it, we get to a point where, just like the second one, we get back to the house, which is like kind of like similar to we get to the Terrifier, right? And basically, the uncle is out of commission.
They cut off his head and they put it on top of the Christmas tree.
He's gone to pick up.
Yeah. He had went to try to go pick up Jonathan, and then Jonathan never makes it to the house. They have Sienna tied up to a chair because she basically fell asleep and was having nightmares because she had to settle herself down because of some middle parts of the movie, and she knew that like Art was back.
Yeah.
And so she's tied up. The mom or the aunt is tied up right in front of her, and the kid Gabby's nowhere to be found. But in her eyes, it's just more her tied up, and she's there with Victoria and Art. And so in the final battle scene, whatever, to summarize, Art and Vicky basically terrorize Sienna. They terrorize the mom. They freak the mom out and Sienna out, showing like a skull, and they're like, "Oh, guess who it is?" And they lead you on to think that it's Gabby. Turns out it's not Gabby, but they do end up basically hurting the mom before they get to that revelation, which we can go into details about that one later. It was interesting. I think one of my coworkers that saw clips of it on TikTok, spoilers before the movie even came out, they reminded them of the scene from Sinister 2 because it involved rats.
Oh
yeah. So yeah,
stomachs, right, or something.
Yeah, Sinister on the stomach, and it goes in that way versus this way, where it forced them in and then got them out.
Yeah, they put a tube in their mouth.
This scene,
the scene was pretty. It was pretty gruesome. It was pretty gross. But they take out the aunt, and then this is where the demon basically starts really trying to get into Sienna to break her down. And they bring out Gabby, and they show Gabby like, "Oh, just kidding, that's not Gabby, but guess who it is?" And then they put the glasses on the skull, Jonathan. And they say that it's Jonathan.
So this is the reason why I kept it from being a 10. Is because Jonathan, he's such
a minor role.
Yeah, he's such like a minor role or something like that, and he's so important to Sienna, right? Like, when she gets out, she just wants to see Jonathan. Like, everything is about, hey, that's my brother. We went through this stuff together. We don't see his kill, and that bothered me.
I thought that too. I thought it was like, this is an important character, and like, why wouldn't you show him like dying, right? Yeah. Especially when this whole movie's about just killing people.
Right? The question is he dead?
That was my thing, and I believe that in that regard because of that very sole reason.
They have his glasses, like, come on.
Yeah, well, people had pointed out,
nerd.
Yeah. People had pointed out they don't think those are his glasses. Like, they look similar, but they're not the same exact frames.
I mean, I could to be fair, like, that skull was also pretty small, and you know, he's an adult. Like, his head wouldn't be.
I don't know,
but
I mean, I think that's more of a practical issue than an actual.
No, I think, and that's the thing. I think people are agreeing. They think that that's the case, that it's not him because of that very reason. That why would you do away with a major protagonist in that regard? Even though he was didn't really do anything the whole movie, really. I mean, honestly, he was kind of a throwaway character in this movie. To be honest, he just kind of helped connect a few things. But, like, he didn't do anything.
He provided the lore.
He provided the lore.
Like, the uncle, I can understand being off camera. But even we see, like, his dead body or whatever.
His dead body's, like, in a T-pose on the wall.
It doesn't...
He does the gritty.
His body. I'm just interested to see if it comes back up, I guess.
Look, this is why I don't think that it is... I mean, that's why I think it is Jonathan. It's because the uncle pulls up, right, to pick up Jonathan. He gets a call from Jonathan's phone, and it's the mimicking voice of Jonathan. And so, like, I don't know how he would have gotten to that point without killing Jonathan.
Well, the Art did it in the second one. They didn't kill, but they had him in their possession, which they could have.
That's what I'm saying.
But they could have him, but it doesn't mean that they took him out.
Do you think they abducted him? Do you think he's... Because, like, you know...
Yeah.
Otherwise, you think maybe he would have, like, shown up at some point if he really wasn't, you know?
Unless they have him somewhere. That's what I believe, is that they have him somewhere.
I could believe that they have him captive somewhere, and they're just like, they took his glasses and they wanted to
Which is they could also do that, right? Like it's a different person's skull, but they just took his glasses. Ha ha, nerd.
But why would they do that? That's the thing.
Well, they had said, somebody had pointed out, and I agree with this, that again they're trying to do anything, pull out all the stops to basically get her down to her lowest point, and they can't. That's why they had to use Gabby as a last resort to try to get to her, because she that's to her they made it seem like that's her last living thing to be attached to, and so that's why I think. Maybe it is important to have Jonathan, because if it didn't go right and it didn't work, they have one more piece to try. To
what? That's fair. Yeah.
But if they maybe this is a story thing for me then. If they really wanted to do that, then why didn't they just do that? Why didn't they bring Jonathan and kill him in front of her to get her to her lowest point? Yeah. Why would they hold him up instead of just doing that?
See, Jonathan's also the only person that has a lot of that information. So if they had any inkling that maybe they could have gotten out and survived, right? Because Sienna's made it out already once. She is the chosen one, and they know that. Then that could be risky for them, right? Like that could be a risky play. Like don't bring the person that has the most knowledge, because Sienna doesn't have any knowledge. Like it's just all coming to her in like dreams and in like flashbacks, we assume. But Jonathan's actually done more of the research. Jonathan is the researching person. Sienna's the one that acts. So if they bring them back together, that could be problematic. You know what I mean? I think the whole purpose of them getting the whole PTSD and separating was that hopefully they would stay apart. And I think that was their goal, to stay intact, to keep them away.
I don't know.
So one thing that we haven't touched on yet that I don't think we've touched on yet, but is pretty important to the story, is that in this lore research stuff that Jonathan does, he learns that every time something is created, something evil is created, there's a good thing that's also created to counterbalance it. And so Sienna's the good thing that was created to counterbalance Art? Question mark?
Yes.
The demon? Question mark? Whatever, whatever's on the evil side, she was the opposite. She is the opposite of it.
Whether Jonathan is completely dead or not, I do expect. I don't think there's a way that he doesn't show up in the fourth movie. Whether that's through a flashback or through, I don't know why they would show his kill in past tense in the fourth movie. But to me, I don't feel like he's just written off script.
They go back a lot. I mean, I could see them going back, right?
I feel like it has to be touched on again somehow.
Yeah,
but I don't know, because we also,
it'd be really disappointing if they didn't.
There's also a lot left in the air, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess going back to just us talking about the final battle scene, it is brought up that at some point, which we don't see, which was, I guess, kind of one of our gripes from the previous movie of the unnecessary scenes. They cut out one that could be seen as unnecessary, which is Sienna does go back to the Terrifier to get the sword. Which is important because throughout the movie they bring up again that the sword is the only thing that can stop evil, but it also will protect her and protect her as in her existence.
But they mention it can't hurt her,
and it can't hurt, which is a lie though, because it did hurt her.
Well, but technically not. Yes, but no.
No, but yes, but no.
Yes, but no.
So when they bring Gabby in front of Sienna, again, this is the last person. I'll put that in quotations. I don't believe it's the last person, but the last person that Sienna would hold dear because everybody else is gone. And basically they're like, okay, we're gonna end it. And then she goes, wait, can I open my Christmas gift, or can she get her Christmas gift? She's the only one that didn't open one because they all opened it.
Well, this is the worst.
It's not
this is the worst plot armor ever.
No, it's not, because it's a Christmas movie.
It's a Christmas movie, 1, and 2. At this point, I think they thought they won, the upper hand. She's tied up, she's not gonna be able to do anything. I thought it was weird that they couldn't feel the energy. I would think that something of that nature would feel energy, even if it's through a box. But whatever. So basically, because she's a snooper, it's a big thing. The little girl's a snooper, and she opens Christmas gifts. They drop that little lore piece there.
Yeah.
She, I guess, had looked at Sienna's that box, and she also knew about the sword and Sienna and everything from the second movie because Sienna wrote it in a diary, and she snooped through the diary and the entirety of it, which is insane because that journal is like the Lord of the Rings book, all 3 books together.
She read that whole thing.
In Old English. And so
I didn't notice till the second time that there is a brief scene before Sienna wakes up where we see Gabby sneaking downstairs.
Yeah, she sneaks downstairs.
Oh, what?
Yeah, she sneaks downstairs. So she knows that it is. And so they're like, okay, so what gift is Sienna gonna open? And she's like, the one in the back, that's the one we got for her.
The one with the angels.
The one with the angels, and they laugh, ha ha. So they give it to Sienna, and they're like, "Open it, Sienna." And yeah,
you're forgetting. They asked the little girl. They're like, "Did you wrap this yourself?"
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They go, "It looks like shit."
Yeah.
and then all this time too, like every time Art's moving back and forth and grabbing
he
stuff,
slaps
he
Sienna in the
slaps
back.
Sienna in the back.
That was
of the
funny.
head.
Okay,
that was funny.
That was funny.
Yeah,
Like,
that was funny.
pretty funny.
I do think it's like more. Like I know you're saying like plot armor or whatever. I do think it's just like a more like we have them surrounded. We're gonna win.
Well, it's
So might as well
the same thing
It's
in like
Villain
all
101.
other, yeah,
Villain
Villain
101.
101, right? Like when you reveal your evil plan or whatever, right? Like
Which
they
they
do this
did.
all the time, and what
Basically did.
and, like Austin
Yeah.
Powers and Batman and like all these other things.
Oh,
Yeah.
you said Austin
Yeah.
Powers first, and that was the one that made fun of it all. But she basically gives her the gift, and just as she's gonna try to open it, as soon as she thinks she's about to open it, then Art just comes with
Oh,
like a
breaks
giant
her
wooden
hand,
hammer
yeah.
and basically breaks both their hands, and she's like, ah, and they're like, come on, open it, and she's
Yeah.
like trying. Also, fun fact, I thought it was pretty interesting. They threw the little piece of information in there because she read the diary. It's like, oh, Sienna doesn't like cereal. And I was
That's
like,
how they got to the
yeah, so it's a diary.
That's
But,
how you know that
she read the
Gabby
diary.
read the diary.
Because I never told you I didn't like cereal. So basically, she's opening it, which I thought was important too that they did this because they were like, okay, we're gonna make sure that you're not gonna play any funny business. We're gonna mess up your hands. But because it was the sword, we realized in the second movie the sword
Heals her.
heals her. It's like a mythical weapon. And so her hands heal up when she grabs them. You don't see it, but we kind of all figured, right? Because we all know what's in there. And so she's like, well, I don't know. They give her some dumb one-liner, but basically
Best gift ever.
best gift ever is like, call an ambulance, but not for me. And so she can grip the sword now, and she basically
Cuts Vicky's head off.
no, she stabs Art I
Art
think
in the
first. Yeah,
Yes,
She catches his neck first.
yeah, catches his neck
something like
first,
that.
and then she. I'm trying to remember. Does she fight Vicky? I know she fights Art.
She
but
just cuts her head off.
Yeah, she just takes out
Yeah.
Vicky pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like, so she just gets rid of Vicky pretty quickly.
And you see the eyes that are all yellow.
Yeah,
from
yellow,
Vicky,
and
yeah.
they fade out.
Yeah.
Fade out. And so then once that happens and she's done that and she is all like happy with Gabby, then we find out, Art gets up, of course, because Art's gonna get up, and then they start duking it out.
With the chainsaw.
With the chainsaw, so, like it's her battling him with the chainsaw and against the sword, which is kind of cool because it's like, again, mythical weapon or whatever, and it can stop the chainsaw, right? Like, just doesn't let it do its thing.
Yeah.
And
One of the points that I want to mention in this fight is that, so we mentioned that the uncle is like nailed to the dining room wall or whatever.
Pulls
and
up the
his-
guts, right?
Yeah, his
Entrails.
from his like diaphragm down is basically sawed in half, and then Art during the fight gets Sienna's head and
Rubs it in,
pushes it into like the fucking pelvic area.
And then he's like choking her. With
Yeah.
Yeah, she bites through it to
she
get
bites
out.
through, yeah.
And this whole time, Gabby's like trying to wake up her mom.
Yeah, I was like, come on.
I know you're 11.
Yeah.
I know you're a
Think through this.
Did the hole open up at this point?
No. So it is important during this fight to note that basically as the fight is happening, the blood not even blood, like the bile, it's bile.
Yeah,
The
it's
bile that's
Victoria's
spilling
bile.
from Victoria is bubbling and it's smoking. So obviously it's like, oh, it's like acid or something.
It's creating a
Yeah.
pool of hell.
Yeah, so basically that thing is just getting bigger. And I think even Gabby notices it too. She's like, what's going on?
She doesn't move.
Yeah, it doesn't move. Yeah, and so she eventually, I think, basically gets Art. Sienna gets Art like pushed and like with the sword through him against the wall. So he's pinned. He's basically pinned at this point. And then that's when the bile like has made a point to where it's basically melted the floor, and then the floor just drops out, and Gabby falls down, and of course holding on somehow because who doesn't grab a ledge when they fall, right? So the little girl's holding on like underneath the ledge, and she's trying to like survive. She's like, Sienna, help!
And
And
it's
so,
just Art's eyes are like glossing over.
yeah, they're like grayed out, like zombie, yeah. And so she runs over to try to help Gabby, but like she refuses to grab her hand. She's like, grab my hand. And it's like, no.
Like, why?
Yeah. And so this was one of the parts I didn't like. Sienna's like, okay, let me get something to grab. There's a bazillion things in this house probably. And the one thing she's like, you know what I'm going to grab? I'm going to grab the sword.
I instantly knew what that was.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so she grabs the sword and she holds the sword, which there's no good way to do this for either party, but she holds the sword in her hands on the blade and hands the handle to her, and she's like, come on, I will pick you up. I'm like, that's not how that works.
Like,
Like,
got the tree.
Yeah, for
like,
real.
I'm like, what? And so basically the little girl, oh yeah, let me do that. That's better. And so she grabs the handle, and then Sienna's trying to pull her up, like blade first with the sword, and of course it slips out of her hands because it's a blade. And so the blade, I think the blade and her fall, right? She
Yeah.
doesn't save the blade.
Now
Yeah.
Gabby has the blade.
Yeah,
Gabby
exactly.
has the blade.
Oh, in
And
hell,
so-
right?
Yeah, you have to
Whoa.
assume it's the underworld because it's like the cloudy,
Yeah.
like maroon gang or whatever. And then like as soon as she falls, and then like basically it like
closes up,
and then it's just like the ground or whatever.
That has to be Terrifier 4.
And then
It is.
so,
It is.
and so and then we kind of just get at the end where
and art is gone.
Yeah.
yeah,
You see, like,
Pan
the blood on the
art
wall.
art's
Yeah.
gone and the blood's gone, and then basically she is on her knees and she's just crying because like at this point now she's definitely at her lowest
Yeah.
point. Like everybody is gone in her eyes. Like you know,
Yeah.
Jonathan's gone, her aunt's gone, her uncle's gone. We have to imagine that's the only
People she had
closest
left, yeah.
family, and then
All her friends are dead.
and then Gabby.
Is gone.
Nobody knows where Gabby's at. She's
pretty much dead to her. At
yeah,
this point.
because she's in a.
Yeah.
How you? You don't know how you.
I feel like she drops the line saying she'll find her. Right?
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
like, I'm
she
gonna
does.
find you. And then that's pretty much it, other than the following scene, which is Art getting on a bus from a
Yeah.
bus stop, and he's
It
just
pretty,
kind of.
well, it does set up the fourth movie with the
Ninth Circle. But the Ninth Circle was the first movie that he was in.
When I saw that, I thought
was
all
it?
that talk of all
Yeah.
holiday finally ties back in.
It does.
Wait, say, what?
She was reading the book, The Ninth Circle, which is the first
Oh.
movie.
It's the. What do you mean?
I
It's
didn't
his
even
first
catch
appearance
that.
movie. It's his first appearance.
The Ninth Circle. I
It's
don't
a
know.
short
It's
film.
it's
the
the
first
it's
one he
the
appears
yeah.
in.
It's called the Ninth Circle.
All Hallows Eve, right? How
includes
it's
his three shorts.
something like that. How it's a compilation. The first one I think is the only named one, and it's called
The Ninth Circle, and
That's
it's
what the lady's reading.
and it's
Yeah,
it's his
Yeah.
first appearance.
Oh, okay.
I saw the book that she was reading, but
It
I
didn't click.
couldn't make out the title.
I had to
Yeah.
look it up,
But I was
after
like,
It was the
okay.
Ninth Circle. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was like,
no,
oh,
Which is
But of course,
Dante's
by the time I
Inferno.
got home, I forgot about it. But yeah,
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, and then that's pretty much it. Like he's on a bus and he's just
gonna
there.
do art things.
Oh,
again.
he just doesn't he pull out the horn. That's
Yeah.
how it is.
Yeah.
And, just,
So his
and that's
eyes are like
it.
all wide.
Yeah.
We never talked about the demolition crew waking him up.
No, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. That's
Yeah, it'll. We'll
We're gonna
circle
take
back.
Did you
Okay.
change your rating yet?
No, yeah, actually, I lowered it.
So yeah, that was basically the final scene. Like there wasn't. I mean, it was better than Halloween Ends. I think we can start. We can start with that.
That's like the bottom of the
evil
floor.
dies tonight.
Yeah.
Evil dies. They didn't throw Art in the chipper.
Hey, when he's on it, they do him in the chipper.
They
Yeah,
threw him in the
honestly, I don't know why they.
Even in the Evil Dead, right? Evil Dead Rise, when they
They
throw
threw
the
him in the
family in the chipper.
That's what you're supposed to
You mean
do.
the what is it? The amalgamation. The thing
Yeah.
that's like 50
Why did they
different.
just cut his head off and all?
Yeah, like
They
come
already
on.
did, and then what happened? What
Exactly.
happened? What
That's
happened?
what I'm
with the-
saying. Like, why not throw him in the chipper?
Horror
Why not
101
throw
is
in
the
the
best
chipper?
way to dispose of a body is to make sure it's all in complete chunks and not recoverable.
If this was Halloween,
I mean,
Art
technically
would've just
that's-
laid down and taken
Technically,
the knife.
that's what they did in Renfield.
Oh, yeah.
Renfield.
Oh, he comes back, right?
That movie's underrated.
The one with the
Renfield is
Nicolas Cage?
underrated.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage.
I never saw it.
It's good.
It's
I'm a Nicolas Cage fan.
It's
Yeah.
really
He's a
good.
Nicolas Cage fan now. He's a,
That's like one of his best works.
honestly, like he in the roles. Okay, like side note, right? We're not talking about, but Nicolas Cage has been coming up in a lot of good roles in the
gets
past
really-
couple of years.
No, he's
like
always
Kate
getting
Jack.
good roles. You just
I-
haven't appreciated it.
Now, he's good.
He's had a comeback.
He's
We're
had
not
a
like-
comeback.
He was
for
the
real.
Ghost Rider.
He was the ghost.
He's doing it for fun now.
Yeah, he's like, give me any role.
He's
He's like ballerina, zombie killer.
He's doing
I
it
got
for the memes.
Yeah, exactly.
He already played himself in that one movie, right? Where he plays himself.
What?
Yeah,
There's a
there's
movie he plays
with,
himself.
with Pedro Pascal, where Pedro Pascal is Nicolas Cage's like biggest fan, and in this,
Is that the one where is that with that meme where like they're jiving and like it's Pedro
Yeah.
Pascal looking at him?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in this movie's world, Nicolas Cage is washed up at this point. Like he's literally
So the
taking
real
any role. He's taking any role he can, but they're all like flops.
Is it a good movie?
I don't know.
Never
Oh,
seen it.
Never
I'll have to
seen
watch it now. I
But
might have
yeah,
to binge
so
some Nicolas
Everything
Cage.
most dad has been.
Yeah,
Renfield,
yeah.
Longlegs.
Yeah,
Willie's.
What's that one? The A24 one that came out where he's like the teacher or
Something with
something?
the-
I want to see that
Oh,
one
I
too.
wanted to see
I want to
that
see that one
one.
too. It's on Max, I think. With
Oh,
the,
I know what you're talking about.
Where he's like he has the dreams right and like something happens. He's like famous or something.
A24 makes great movies. So.
Yeah.
Non-horror movies.
That's right.
did we want to go into the general thoughts and review of practical effects? Or do
Yes,
you
I think that's important.
I think we just
I feel like
touch on
that'll
it.
allow us to touch back on a couple kills.
Yeah.
Okay, so practical effects gonna go for me with my favorite, I guess, part that Art did his thing. So I thought that the best effect, and I have to imagine this was Damien. It's no way it could have been any of the other ones, because if the beginning was any indication, it wasn't any of the other ones. But the scene that you had brought up, it was the demolition crew, and so two guys come into their facility 5 years later and find, basically they split up. Of course, you go upstairs, I'll go downstairs in this abandoned giant hospital, I'm assuming. So they basically go their separate ways.
Pretty sure it's just the house.
No, it's not. It's like it's a giant warehouse. They have
it's like a house.
It's like wooden,
It's like a wooden house.
No, it's too big. I will find it. There's
There's
a wide
stories.
Yeah, it's a wide shot though. I don't think it's a house. It's an actual.
It's a nice house.
I think it's some
could have
kind
been
of
a
old
nice
facility.
house.
But I think the house, because of the stairwell, makes it seem that way. But when you go to other parts,
That was
of
actually
the building,
it was an attic. The top was an attic
yeah, there's attics everywhere.
in a hospital.
Yeah.
I've never seen an attic in a hospital. A wooden attic.
Have
in
you
a
asked
hospital.
them to go up there?
Oh my! That's making the shorts.
Okay, so the demolition crew comes to his lair, okay, and so one finds Victoria, the other one finds Art, and so Victoria's in the tub, and it's all like bile at this point, and she's just there, and Art is in his chair, still eyes open,
His
still
face looks
smiles,
so ugly.
and he's just smiling, and just cobwebs all over him, just freeze frame. Like he basically just froze. Like basically he just okay. But anyways, I thought this was the best practical effect moment, and it was with Art with his person, not the other guy. Actually, I get because the other guy got taken out.
The other guy was like
By
the
Big
biggest kill in the
Victoria.
movie, right? It was literally yeah.
I mean, the guy cutting the neck is it. That's all you
I
need.
think she does something else, but I
She
can't
like
remember.
stabs him again.
Yeah, she like stabs him in the eye or something.
Yeah.
It was-
But so Art basically gets this guy down. I think he ends up like getting a nailing his hand down. But it basically does his super strength where he like pulls and peels and does like his thing. He basically like peeled the front part of his face, but like the way that it was sequenced, the way that the camera work was, it was one smooth shot. And it looked like really like realistic. Like it looked like you physically what it would look like with those layers of muscle and skin underneath and the teeth. Like I thought that, and it still moved like very naturally. I was like, that right there, I think was the best looking one out of any of the ones in the movie. So I have to imagine that was his hand, because I haven't seen anybody else anything look that good. And so I thought that was the most interesting one and was the high point of the effects. It was very well done.
It was good. I think. I mean, they did good, right? Overall, the practical effects were, albeit the first
one was
like
kind of
okay, but I mean, they were pretty consistent. Even like with the shower, the shower scene was like
So another like big I guess marketing thing that they did with this movie is that they really emphasized that one of the kills almost made Howard Thornton like vomit.
I don't know how true that was. Well, I guess
I don't know how true it is. If it is,
did they say what kill it was?
No, they haven't. But I think that it's this one that we're talking about.
It was pretty. It was like the way it looked was oof.
So I guess you're right. So it was really good. I don't think that what he was doing was what made him vomit. I think it was what Victoria was doing that almost made him vomit. So
I thought this was where I thought it was unnecessary. Like and when I saw that too, that was another one where I was just kind of like, you didn't necessarily need that.
Anything.
I think it's just kind of one of those, like you're saying, shock value, which kind of that was where part of my score went down, because I'm like, it was. Like, you don't need to do things just to do things. It's one of those, like, you don't need to one-up yourself and, like, just do the movie. Like, because the movies, there's already moments that are pretty solid. Like, don't ruin it.
So to let y'all know what Victoria was doing while Art was peeling this guy's face off and whatever, she had a very large piece of glass. She put it in her lady bits and was pleasuring herself with it. It was...
Oh, and then he hits the shame on you thing.
Yeah. Afterwards, Art goes like that.
Damien... So Damien said he edited 90% of this. And he mentioned that, like, to try to get under the 2-hour runtime, they cut, like, 6 or 7 scenes. Or, like, parts.
Damn.
And I guess this was an important one to keep in.
They're like, we need this scene right here.
So there's a Damien cut, just like there's a Schneider cut?
He was saying that, like, there was a scene between, like, Gabby and Sienna towards the end that was super, like... I guess, psychological that
Mhm.
he had to cut. But
It's probably just filler, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, I would have.
Jonathan went.
I can't. Yeah.
Well, that's what they're
was the
saying. They were
Jonathan
saying
kill?
I don't know how true it is. You were saying that one of the scenes that got cut out was Jonathan.
The uncle might have been one of them.
Yeah, which was necessary. That's
I
probably
can't-
the need to.
But I can't see them cutting out a kill, right? Like that's what
But
people
it
go
might be
for, right?
individual scenes. Because he also mentioned, like, in the final battle scene, like, I think the Gabby and Santa thing was part of that final scene where, like,
I could see them cutting out stuff like that.
They
Well,
cut
they cut out the
shots
sword.
or
They cut
like-
out the sword, which made sense because it's like
Yeah,
I don't even know. That would be a lengthy thing.
Yeah.
and you don't need to see it to know.
You don't need to
like,
see it to know, yeah. Because she came with dirty hands.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Is like you saw the dirt and stuff, right? But yeah, I don't know.
I
But
can't imagine them cutting out a kill.
But the practical effect of the face for me was, I think, the high point. Like I thought that was the best looking one of them all. Even though everybody was hyping up the shower scene as like because I get it, that was the most gruesome. But I thought that the best looking practical effects one was the construction or demolition crew.
I like
Yeah.
I don't think I have to go into full detail, but there's also a close up shot of, like, where he gets the Santa costume from, and, like, he rips Santa's face.
Oh,
and, like,
yeah,
eyes
the bar
are
scene.
moving.
that entire thing.
No,
the whole bar
yeah,
thing,
the
the
bar
whole
thing, yeah.
from beginning to end. I loved it.
Everybody refers to it as the tavern.
The
scene.
tavern.
tavern.
Because he also
Sorry.
hits, which I didn't catch till the second time, Santa hits, like, in the very beginning of the meeting when, like, Art tries to, like, pull his
Oh
beard.
yeah, he's like,
He mentioned, like, to be Santa, you
you
have to have a real beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
That effect. No, that was a good effect too. Like the whole like nitrogen.
eyes
the whole-
are, like,
yeah, and his
yeah.
eye was. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Which
Yeah.
we see with, like, the rat scene a little bit.
Yeah.
I was a fan of that scene.
It was cool.
So the whole tavern scene is basically, I love the way it starts. So like you have these three guys in a bar, the bartender and two other patrons. One of them is dressed like Santa Claus.
Is that guy though? Santa's friend. Is that guy famous? He
Yeah,
looks famous,
Santa's
right?
friend
Like,
is-
Apparently, they're both from other, like
things, right?
franchises, Yeah.
I didn't recognize the Santa guy, but I recognized that other guy. He had like some stuff, some cosmetics on him, but like I recognize like his eyes, like his forehead
Yeah.
and stuff like that. His balding forehead.
But so Art the Clown, we see from a window that he's like walking past the building with his fucking bag, right?
Yeah.
Just whatever, and then he
Wait a minute.
stops.
You see
And
Santa.
then, yeah, he sees Santa, and he goes and he looks at the fucking window, right? He's like
yeah.
all excited or whatever, and then he runs inside, and he's just so excited. Oh, I loved it. And then he kills Santa.
I wasn't ready for him to pull a gun out of that.
Yeah.
He does it in every movie, right? He does it in every movie. It wouldn't be an Art the Clown movie. It wouldn't be a
Like, I
Terrifier
thought,
movie.
okay, they're about to have, like, a battle scene with the bartender guy, and he just gets his shit raw.
Okay, the guy, and now that you mention it, now when he said the eyes, it made sense. So that's Clint Howard, and Clint Howard was the ice cream man.
Let me see.
He was No, I'm pointing. So when he puts
Oh.
the ice cream man,
Over here? I was like, would it be right here?
No, that's right. Oh,
It goes right here, no?
okay. So he played the ice cream man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see
it
that
was ice
that
cream
guy.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, "Ice cream, you scream, we all scream for the ice cream man."
But he's in other stuff too, right?
Yeah, he's in some other things, but he's a pretty popular character. I think he was in the Waterboy too, right?
Yeah, that's probably where I've seen him in the water. He's like in one of those movies, like one of those like Adam Sandler
Yeah,
movies.
he's like, I'm not what you'd call a good-looking man. He like does like a whole like monologue.
Yeah.
So just to kind of close up this part, Art shoots the bartender and shoots the ice cream man, and then he has Santa like tied up in a chair, right?
Liquid nitrogen.
And he liquid nitros him,
and freezes his legs,
breaks him off.
breaks him off, freezes his hands, does the same thing, freezes his face, and then
That was interesting.
Yeah. This is the part everybody's been waiting for, right? Like everybody's been waiting to say their part right here, right? Everybody, all the viewers, this is the part they want to hear. The kills, right?
the
I feel
kill.
like we have to talk about.
This is the kills.
I know we touched on it. I feel like we have to talk about where that chainsaw was.
in the shower
Is
scene.
that the same one that he uses in the final
Yes.
scene?
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
yes,
it's the exact same chainsaw. Yeah.
I do think part of that was for like reactions, I guess.
That was
But, like,
definitely
the audience was very like.
Yeah.
I think that was the basically their answer, not their answer, but their like again, they have to take it a step further, right, to the bedroom scene. This was their bedroom scene from the previous movie.
Yeah.
And
Shower scene.
The shower scene, and so
We're literally introduced to like the podcast lady just for this scene. To happen.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
She, like the scene before that, she talks about, I want to know what it's like to stare into his eyes.
That was a
or
pretty funny
whatever.
scene. That was a funny scene.
oh,
Yeah.
he's like reacting to
Yeah, her things, right? Her comments.
So to give you some more context, Jonathan's roommate, he's dating this podcaster. She has a true crime podcast, and she's obsessed with the Miles County Clown Killer.
stock.
Yeah, stuff.
And so these are the two characters that are involved in the shower scene, which we watch from the back. We don't see the front view, but we see Art urinate and wash his hands.
Yeah,
He's a clean guy. He's a clean guy. In the opening scene, he washes the plates too. He's a very clean
And the first
individual.
thing he does when they get back from he gets Victoria. The next scene, like when they're in
He
the
washes
house,
his hands.
He's like completely clean.
Yeah, he cleans himself. Yeah,
The
he's
second
a,
movie,
he went to the dry cleaner, dude.
yeah, he's a clean guy.
So,
yeah.
if Art can wash his hands after using the restroom, anybody can. I think that says more about the protagonist.
Yeah.
That's true. It's true. I did say
He
that. I was
washed
like,
his hands.
I was like, look at it. He washed his hands. He's the only character in a horror movie that's washed his hands. To show you.
Yeah.
What-
Yeah.
I'm confused about something. It's really not important to the thing, but it's the sequencing thing. They show Art. I don't know. He pulls up in the white van or whatever, and he walks into the frat house or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that the same place that the dorms are at?
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah.
Okay, I was
yeah.
confused because right after that it cuts to him
Yeah.
being outside their dorm.
It's the door. He's
Yeah.
A little okay.
which is weird.
Yeah, it might be that they're in a fraternity
Right.
and it's just their frat house.
Right.
Like if you've ever seen the the House Bunny,
Right.
how they each have their own houses and
Mhm.
everybody there has their own rooms. So it could just be it's a pretty large house that they
yeah.
all live in, and the party or whatever is just taking place at another
somewhere else.
the chainsaw scene was cool.
Yeah.
You know,
I was hoping. I mean, we did get a mass murder scene, but I was hoping there would be one at the frat
I
party.
did too.
I was like, oh, he's going to this frat party. I was like, he's gonna do something crazy at this frat party. He's gonna
walking in. He
yeah. I
I
was
don't
like,
want to say he broke the fourth wall, but he looks back and
he looks at the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was ready. I was like,
What
I was excited.
What did they say? There's a bunch of guys carrying a keg into the house, right? And he holds the door. Art holds the door for him,
Yeah.
and one of them goes, "Oh, nice costume, dude," and he's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, thanks."
I like to imagine that he probably did massacre a bunch of people in there.
Yeah,
but
probably. Do
He
you want to
hits
talk
no
about?
angels in the blood.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the shower scene?
No, I mean, like I said,
Well,
it was okay. I mean, y'all can. I thought it was okay. I think it just really tried hard to
They showed
match.
genitalia. That was
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
basically, in what happens in the shower scene, because like we said, right, this is this movie's version of the
the
bedroom
bedroom
one.
scene.
Is that we have the roommate and the podcaster. They're getting romantic in the shower, and after Art washes his hands,
He
he dries them. He dries them off, and then he goes to his bag and he pulls out his chainsaw, and then you just hear the
Yeah.
and then it breaks into the glass wall of the shower, and he starts hacking away at these two people. What happens? He's
kind of missing at first, honestly.
Yeah.
He nicks him in the
He nicks
arm,
him.
the boyfriend in the arm.
Well, I
and,
think
like,
they've
that's
even
it.
he gets his finger. I think at one point even I forgot which one of them did, but actually was smart, and I don't think I've seen anybody else do this in a chainsaw type movie. They actually grabbed it from the thing to hold it back to not let it get any
Yeah.
I think it was him.
I think it was a guy because the girl didn't do nothing. She just
She was
cowered.
hiding behind
She just
the whole
cowered the whole
time.
time. Yeah.
he does something to her, right, where she's not exactly dead, but
Oh, he cuts her jaw off. I think he chainsaws her jaw off and it's hanging. It's hanging off. Yeah, he's hanging off and he cuts her pretty good. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly as far as what, but she's really bloodied. She's sitting against the wall.
And then he turns
And then-
her and looks
Yeah,
in her
he
eyes.
turns her and then he's because he's wearing the sunglasses.
Oh,
That's
he
what
gives
does.
her the sunglasses.
He's wearing the sunglasses.
the shaped like Christmas trees.
Yeah, and he takes them off, and he's like, "Hey, it's me, the guy you've been wanting to meet."
Yeah.
And then he puts them on.
Yeah, when she gets all her eyes widen, right? She's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
yeah,
And then he pokes her nose or whatever.
yeah. He boops her on the nose, and he just finishes chainsawing her, right? And then he goes back to the
He cuts her
boyfriend.
in half for just to do it.
Yeah.
Finish it off.
Yeah,
And then so then the boyfriend is out of the shower at this point.
Did
He's
his
crawling
leg snap
away.
already?
Huh?
his leg.
Yes,
oh yes, when
yes, yes.
the boyfriend tried to run because he got him in the leg.
There was a pretty audible reaction
Yeah.
in my theater to that.
Yeah,
one.
And he tried to run, and
Like,
it was just his leg snaps.
And then he pulls him by it later, or like rips it off.
As
yeah,
he
he rips
chucks
it
it.
off and he chucks the leg, and then he gets the chainsaw and starts going from
Albeit,
the booty crack up, and we see everything.
Yeah.
Oh, because he turns him around. And
Yeah.
that's when-
Yeah, he turns him around, and we see a blood-covered
Yeah.
wiener and.
Well, there's your comparison, right? You like drawing things parallels, right? There's parallel to the first movie, right? With the saw, he upgraded. Instead of a saw, you upgraded to a chainsaw, and he did the same thing.
There
So
was no, since we're talking comparing movies, and we talked about pacing earlier. Thank God there was no time lapses in this movie.
The lo-fi time lapse from the
The
second.
lo-fi music was still
yes.
there, but we didn't do the time lapse.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They cut out
Yeah.
some of the fluff, like
Yeah.
the whole like getting ready for the party thing. Like I get that's a thing, like in horror movies and just movies in general. Like you have to have a little bit of like a. I hate to say it's like a transitional thing, but it is kind of like a transitional thing. They're just kind of like bringing you down before they rebuild you back up. But no, that's true. There's no time lapse.
This film also, again, super random, but like, and it's what bothered me about Willie's. I hate to bring it up in such a, but like Willie's had that super like ultra 4K like YouTube look to it. And like this film has like grain across. The
I think it's like a.
thing.
I think
Like, you can tell they're
it's
using
it's
real
like a
equipment, like,
So that's this thing. That's like I think that's specifically for how he does it. He likes that type of.
it feels very
cool,
indie still, and a good movie. It's very nice. No CGI. Well, a little bit in the eyes and stuff.
Well, I guess that helps us hopefully segue into the next thing, which was
Favorite kill?
Well, I guess I think
That's I thought that's what we're discussing. I thought that's what we were talking about.
I mean, did you have
I feel like
another one?
they could be tied into one.
Yeah.
Did you have another one that?
Well, we know yours was the demolition, right? Yours was.
I just because of the
that was your
practical
favorite. Yeah,
effect was good.
but that was your favorite
really
kill,
good.
right? I would say, like, I mean, I guess if that's the basic thing, right? Mine's the chainsaw one, right? Because I mean, I thought it was cool.
I
For
like
what it was.
I like the tavern scene. I will say the scene that grossed me out, or I felt like I had to look away the first time, was like when at the time we think it's Gabby's skull and like we're shoving rats down the throat.
Oh, the mom.
It just made
The
me
mom.
feel unsettled. Like,
That was your favorite kill.
I think it was one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah.
Besides Santa. Santa was cool.
Sentinel.
It was just all funny and like.
No one's gonna talk about the mall one. That's not their favorite kill.
Well, I was gonna bring it up.
He didn't though.
But it's a kill. It's
Yes, he did.
It's
No, he
his.
didn't.
Yes, he
It's
did.
his. It's his kill.
Okay, so your favorite kill's the rat one at the end with the ant,
Or the
I'm
Santa
gonna
one.
say Santa.
Santa
So
one.
rat being a
Santa
close
one.
second.
and yours is the demo guys.
Chainsaw,
For
yeah.
practical effect.
I really like the Santa one. I think the Santa and the chainsaw one are even.
Yeah.
In
They're
my-
good. They
I
were
like
good. Yeah.
So yes, he does. So there's a scene where Art the Clown. You've seen it in the trailer, right? Where he goes on top of the Santa thing, and all the little kids.
This was a
coming up,
stupid scene too, but it was kind of funny. Like even like
and he's giving all of these kids gifts, right? He's
they're
pretending
actual
to be
gifts.
Santa. Yeah, they're actual gifts.
yeah.
They're like,
Still,
With the
like,
blazer,
yeah,
right?
the skin from the original
Yeah.
Santa is still on the beard. It's on the base of the
Yeah.
beard. But he gives like footballs and dolls
Yeah.
and all these other things. And so when they finally like, hey, who is this guy? This isn't Santa. He's creeping my kid
Yeah.
out. And the worker's like, he's creeping me out too.
and they kick him out, essentially, or they don't really, which they don't throw him out. They just kind of push him to the side,
Yeah,
right?
they
They're
push
like,
him
get
to
out
the
of here.
side.
Kind
And this one kid who's a little bit too curious, he finds this one gift. And
I don't think that gift was near the bag. It was near something else. Like I thought it was near.
Yeah,
So that's why I said it wasn't.
It was
Well-
definitely meant to be given out. Like, it
yeah,
wasn't like,
they were all in the bag. They were like all in the bag, and they were looking through the bag. So I could imagine, like, right,
Yeah.
it had to fall out, or like someone pulled it out, and they were just.
And so when this kid opens the box, it's a bomb and it explodes. And we see like we see a bunch of dead kids. But one of them they zoom in on, and the girl, her face.
Yeah, I
is
was like
completely
caved in. Yeah, I was like, oh shit.
yes, he did kill those kids. That-
Who
yes.
killed the little kid? Killed the kids?
No,
Those are
Art.
his kills?
Art killed those
Who
kids.
opened the box?
It doesn't matter.
It's Art.
Opened the
It's the
box.
same. It's the same thing. This is the same argument that people have. With
That's like saying if you poison someone and they drink, if you give someone a poison drink and they drink it, do they kill themselves?
Did he give it to him?
He was.
The
It was
kid took
meant.
it.
It was.
No,
his
the-
intention was
How do you know
for
what his
someone to
intention
open
was? You're assuming intentions.
Oh my god!
It's the same argument that people have when they say that Jigsaw didn't kill anybody.
He did. Yeah,
he
he
kills
did.
all the people in those movies.
Jigsaw was a
He's-
killer. You
he's
put him in.
responsible
You
for
put
it.
him in that spot, right?
Yes.
They're put in that spot. against their own will, right?
Right.
They put themselves in that spot.
I told him
I
earlier.
mean-
They jaywalk in front of Jigsaw, and he takes his
You didn't pay your credit card yet.
No.
Cut off your leg.
Stupid.
Yes, Art the Clown did kill those kids.
I do think that the mall scene, I mean, it ties into the fact that, like, Sienna thinks that she's
So this
seen
is
him
the
earlier.
first part. This is when Sienna sees him, and she
But-
doesn't see his face,
Yeah,
but she can tell that it's
The
him.
body
music.
language.
Yeah.
And
And
oh
then
yeah,
the Clown Cafe.
we get one drop of Clown Cafe. It's distorted, but we get the Clown Cafe over the
mall
speakers.
speakers, yeah.
And at some point midway through the movie, or maybe it was the beginning, I can't remember, we get the new song drop, which was
Terrifier
Terrifier Christmas.
That's at the end.
That's
yeah.
when he's.
No, there was in
it
the
plays
middle
when he's pulling
too.
up
Oh
the
yeah,
van.
yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the,
No, that's. There's another song. It's like Satan's Power or something like
Oh,
that.
it is a van.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
when it's pulling up in
there's
is that
a
the same song?
No.
There's a Terrifier. There's 3 songs. There's the Clown Cafe song, which plays in the mall. There's when he's pulling up in the van, which is like
But we
Satan's
get
Power.
Terrifier. We get
And-
Terrifier Christmas twice.
Yes,
That's playing in the
yes.
movie. I
It
don't
just
remember
it plays
when.
at the end, and then it plays sometime like mid
Mid.
to the end or something like that. It plays twice. Yes,
I
you're
find
right.
it
It does.
interesting that Art's like, because Art, when he walks by in like with the Santa mask on or whatever, like he turns and looks at her, like
Yeah,
she's being toyed with basically.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's
he knows what
letting
he's
her-
doing. He knows.
And then that
exactly.
plays into later, like the kids dying at the mall is the confirmation that he is in fact.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
when Sienna like
Because
that leads into the final.
Yeah. That's when Sienna does the classic, like, we need to leave, XYZ, and her
Mhm.
uncle's
Freaking
like,
out.
yeah, her uncle's like, what are you talking about?
What a dumb guy.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was
And
a
he
dumbass.
paid for it.
Yeah, he did. He really did.
Honestly, man, it's tough.
Don't be wrong.
Yeah, don't be wrong.
If you talk about a complete movie, I would say 3 is stronger than 2. I would almost go reversed order 3, 2, 1, but I feel like 1 is just its own thing. Like, I don't know. It's hard to compare 1 to 2 and 3 because 1, like you were saying, doesn't have like
Story.
a like it's not a story. It's just like this is a thing that's happening for the entirety of this movie. You know what I mean? It'd be
Yeah.
like if it was Saw, but without any backstory. It was just the game, and
It's like
that
a-
was it. You
It's
know?
like a
Yeah.
prologue to like, here's your introduction to
Yeah,
Victoria,
that's a really
which will
good
tie in
point.
later.
Yeah.
But
That's
like,
a really good point.
1 is
yeah.
on its own, and then it seems like 2 and
3 are the
until
actual
whenever
story.
the story ends, 4, 5, whatever, are all going to be based
I
around.
think they're saying 4, maybe the last one, maybe 5, but he's not going very far. He said he's cutting it at a certain point because he's like, I don't want to be like the Friday the 13th.
Where it has so many
and Freddy,
sequels and stuff
Where
like
yeah,
that.
at that certain point you're like a shell of what
And then we'll
you
bring
were.
it back in 20 years.
Yeah. I was telling Adam this at some point. Like, even with the third movie, I felt like it wasn't even a complete movie. Like, it felt very like an intermission
It's a
from the second
sandwich
one.
because it carries
Yeah,
on.
that's what. Yeah, it had. It
Right.
didn't really feel like it had a beginning or an end. It felt like it was just kind of a bridge between the second and the fourth movie.
Whereas like
The-
2, because it was starting a new story with Sienna.
It felt
had
conclusive.
it
Well, the
had-
second one did feel conclusive, right? Like, it felt conclusive. It felt conclusive.
Especially at least you get like you get the head cut off. And
Yeah,
like,
and it's
like,
like-
obviously they do the cliffhanger at the end with like the Chris Jericho scene's a credit scene, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
almost
it's
like
like
it's
a
scene,
mid-credit
but like
scene,
the
yeah.
main movie felt like
Right. It feels like you're getting a
ending.
you're being introduced to all these people and now you're getting an ending.
Yes.
She kills him. That's the
Yeah.
But this one just kind of like
Right.
ended like, you know.
which I didn't mind. Again, it's one of those like after the whole story ends, like whenever whether it's 4 or 5, like I think you'll be able to look back on it and appreciate it more.
Would you have? I think I asked you
Yeah.
this question. Would you have hated it, or if they had gone into it as Terrifier 3 Part 1?
I feel like that would have been more accurate. That's
Yeah,
what it
but
feels
would
like.
you? But would you have gone in with the same thought and expectations, knowing that if it's a Part 1, it's not going to give you a conclusive ending? I think most people would have been maybe a little bit turned off by it. I know I'm
I
turned
wouldn't
off.
have- I
I'm
wouldn't have.
turned off by things that are like this movie Part 1, because then I'm like, I know it's not going to end. I know there's going to be like,
But it
some-
wasn't going to end regardless. Like, people already
Right.
knew that before
But
the movie even came out.
I
Like,
think
but do you though?
I think
I
there was
mean,
enough
yeah, because
lore.
at the end of the second one, I remember there being articles that Damien had already said that he's planning on doing at least
Well,
2 more.
At least
Yeah.
2 more, but like every movie, even the second one to an extent, you know, there's going to be a third one. But it, like you were saying, it didn't seem like it was going to be like you're saying, a bridge into another movie that has to bridge into another movie. It might include them, but it'd be its own different story. But like you're saying, it's a continuation.
That's what it feels like, though.
It doesn't feel. I feel like I don't feel like it feels like a part one of like Terrifier 3 because we finally get okay, Victoria is this demon or whatever, and we see her killed. We see Gabby fall into the underworld. I feel like there's enough lore, which is what makes it a standalone film, whereas something like Halloween Kills, which is sandwiched in that trilogy, really adds nothing to the story. It's really just like kills the whole time.
Yeah.
But there's no, like, at least here we're seeing a backstory of them making the armor for Sienna or whatever.
Oh, Lord,
in that weird flashback. Or like we find out more about like the possession and stuff like that.
And the dad.
I don't know.
Actually get a little
So
bit
it does feel like a transitional movie, but I feel like there's enough lore there to...
I don't
It's a
know.
Christmas movie.
I just think, I don't know. Maybe. I guess we'll see where the first one or the fourth one starts, and maybe that'll.
But I'd say 3, 2, 1.
3,
I would
2,
agree
1.
with you. Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think this was very easily... I mean, it's been a while since I've gone back and watched the other two, so maybe with this one I might feel different about them, but I mean, again, I was a big critic of the other two, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like this movie won me over. So
Yeah.
I think it's very easily the best from the standpoint of like, we've cut out a lot of the fluff, the pacing is really nice, I like the kills, I like the story, I think Art's character is great. We find out the whole Victoria thing, I think adds a lot.
I think I do worry if you're saying like he's starting to become more hands off that we're gonna end up like going he's gonna still be the director, so I assume maybe not to the extent, but like kind of like the Insidious where they kind of start and all that entire just
Started going
James
downhill,
Wan universe just starts kind of going
Decreasing.
down.
He makes
downhill.
He makes the good movie first, and then it just progressively gets worse.
Well, because he gets more
Yeah.
hands off, and that's like
Yeah.
I think would be my biggest worry.
I don't think it's that. This is like his like bread and butter, right? I don't think it's gonna.
They did mention that, like, or he mentioned, I don't know their exact names or what exactly they worked on, but like the makeup artists and like the special effects people or the practical effects people are like award-winning people. So like they have
it's
obviously
not
if he
just,
hand
like,
selected them, they have a good backstory. He also mentions that like the reason Terrifier 2 took so long is because he was having to do it all by himself.
Yeah.
So like without that, one, he has the money for it now.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have even more now.
Yeah, they got a lot of money for
Like
this, right?
without that, we wouldn't get Terrifier 4.
I
So
think so. What is
28?
you wanna? Can we Jordan get the exact number for the box office weekend for the
Opening weekend.
This
weekend?
Yeah, this weekend.
As far as I knew, they
posted it,
today that it was hitting over 18 million.
18 million.
Which it was projected to do like 13
Yes.
based on pre-sales. And
Not even
like,
then. I thought they said it was only be like 8 or 9.
it's done. Because at first it was like, is it even going to go number one?
Yeah.
And
No, it did. It did.
It passed Joker, full-legged dude.
Well, and I think because there's really nothing else out that's new, right? Nothing. It's not competing against anything. That we
They dropped it at a pretty
I
good
think-
time.
Honestly, I think what happened was that they announced that this was when the movie was going to come out, and other people were like, "Nope, I'm not going to touch that weekend." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It did.
That's
do
what I
18
don't.
million.
I mean, I don't have any evidence for that, but like that's my train of thought because like that happens with other movies, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not uncommon for that to happen. And with
Yeah, but I feel like
Terrifier
maybe-
2 being so good that they brought it back to theaters for an entire month, I feel like people realizing that movie was coming out this week, or I guess this past Friday,
they didn't want to get overshadowed by it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's other. I mean, I don't know. I feel like a major company wouldn't.
I was gonna say,
necessarily
well,
be
like
afraid of
what? But there's not even anything like coming out right
That
now.
was
That's
new.
crazy.
Smile comes out next week.
next weekend?
Oh, okay.
Well, I could see that. That's a Universal one, right?
It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be
Paramount?
so
Paramount.
bad.
Yeah.
It's gonna be bad.
Smile too.
I
Yeah.
like Smile.
The first one was okay, but this like the premise of this one, just like it's and just by the trailer, it doesn't look
Premise
good.
looks the exact same as the first one.
It looks worse.
What do you mean? How does it look
Pop
worse?
star infecting it. It gives me like Rings vibes. You see
Well, if
Rings?
she's on a jumbotron and she smiles and
That's
everybody
what-
sees it.
That's what's gonna happen. That like it's predicted. That's what's gonna happen, right? But
I didn't even
that's the
think
same.
about that.
Yeah, that's exactly. And it's like, okay, come on. And it's the same thing.
Taylor Swift has.
It's the same thing as Rings. You seen Rings? Rings is like
It's a sequel to The Ring, or is it
yeah,
a
it's like
different
it's a 2018 sequel to The Ring.
Oh,
So
shit.
essentially, what happens in this one, it has the same kind of like ideology behind it, where like this thing goes viral and it comes out on the videotape, right? You know, the haunted videotape. It goes on every single screen and it affects everybody. So I'm like, come on.
it ruins
It ruins it, right? Because the whole thing is like it's a haunting, it's personable. You don't know how to stop it, but then like this turns into like a whole
Yeah.
apocalyptic situation. It's like,
So yeah, the final number is 18 million. That's what it's projected at. I mean, Sunday's not over. I will say, horror movies don't tend to do that good. So like 18 million for a horror movie is crazy good. I think it outdid what the latest Saw movie did, which was considered successful.
You sure about that? I want you to look that up. That doesn't seem right.
Saw 10.
Everybody was talking about Saw 10. Jigsaw goes to Mexico. That was everybody's favorite.
I know, but
the Marcus
Saw 10 opening weekend was 18.3 million.
Oh,
beat it by 300,000. Eh?
What? No, the weekend's not over though.
Yeah.
Oh, the weekend's not over.
Terrifier says 18 million plus, so it might outdo that. Which is like, it's crazy to think. And y'all were like OG fans. Like, Terrifier 2 got re-released and did already less than what this movie's done.
It got
released
the whole
multiple
weekend,
times.
and then it got re-released the year after, and then here we are. I think 2 years after.
So we're taking art from. It's still an indie film, but like we're taking it from. Okay, this is only an indie film that you're gonna watch on a streaming platform. This is like art's always gonna be an unknown character that the general population doesn't give a shit about.
Well,
and now we've taken it.
Yeah.
Like it has its own animatronic.
Right.
Yeah,
like it has
that's
the first one
crazy.
stayed like that, and they all were like as successful as the first one box office wise.
It would have just been like a.
But now he's entering like a.
Yeah.
Who knows? I'm assuming 4 is gonna do even better.
He's
and
gonna.
if that's good, 5 is gonna do. Even better.
I think that's. I don't know. That's like kind of like a win for the little guy, right? Like you don't see too many movies that are like that. That other than maybe like you get a couple of one-offs or that they do that, but they're not ones where they continually make movies and then they continually improve with like everything in regards to like being a box office success, getting more notability, things like that. But yeah, the fact that it went from being a short film to getting its own movie that was just on a streaming platform, and now it's at Spirit Halloween. It's in TikTok. It's in all these
skin Call of Duty now.
Call of Duty. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty big deal. The fact that it's not in Dead by Daylight, I think, kind of makes it seem like a gum up bash it for a second. That how like out of touch behavior is the company that owns Dead by Daylight, like one of the most major license. Like they have all the major licensings for all these other horror franchises, like to use the characters. And Damien has even come out and said, "We want you to use our character, like please." And they don't. And I'm like, how?
Well, that's a dead game now.
Yeah.
That game sucks now.
Does it?
Yeah, it does. It's bad.
I'm gonna say I don't even know what the last thing they released.
It's Vecna. I don't know.
Vecna.
Yeah.
I'm sure most of the people in both of my screenings, like before this would have never been the case with Terrifier, that I'm sure a lot of the people that saw the movie on opening weekend have probably never seen the other two. Like they're probably not. Like a lot of it is like diehard fans like y'all. Were like, we're gonna go see it no matter what.
But other people are just like, I want to see what the hype is.
I saw a trailer. I've heard a lot of good stuff. So now it's like
he's a name now. I mean, I hate to say it, but he's
put himself on the Rushmore
Hall of the Hall of Fame.
This is a good transition because we're gonna compare it to other like horror franchises. But when this is all said and done, whether it's 4 or 5, it makes you wonder what, like 20 years from now, where does Art the character sit? I mean, does he sit at the table with like I want to say like a ghost faced or a because like obviously like Jason and Freddy are always going to be an untouchable.
Well, I was gonna say, this might, because of what you said, this might be a hot take, but I think he beats out some of those characters now.
Right. I think he
does.
Think
so?
Because like what the last, I mean, just look at the releases, right? Like the last Friday the 13th movie came out in what 2008, something like that. Yeah. Like what are they doing with that? Nothing. He's not even.
I mean, but it's just
and they were all bad,
and they're all bad.
Well, here's the thing. I think this is where you get very difficult because it's hard to compare something that was a timepiece in its own timepiece. Yeah. I think going back to, and we'll see what it is, and we could be wrong, in 5 to 10 years, I think this will be a timepiece of this horror movie era history because not only did it like set itself up to like be like this is an interesting character for this genre, but like it's fighting for success and doing well progressively every single time it's released. Like Damien has like literally, no matter what you can say about the movie, whether you like it or not, he has created something that people is garnering more and more attention. And it just even for that, I think it sits at the table. I don't think there's any other franchise that continually steady goes up. It usually goes the opposite direction, is going down. And it may not be a household name yet, but it's getting there because people are seeing it in more mainstream places. Like again, Spirit Halloween, I think if you can get your own costume and animatronic, all this is Spirit Halloween, that is very helpful. Like that license is starting to be seen more.
And like to agree with your point, to give more evidence, like if we take other examples, right? Hellraiser. Hellraiser 1 and 2 are good. the third one, and then they're dog shit after that.
Right.
We don't have a Hellraiser, as far as I know, Spirit Halloween shirt.
Yeah.
We don't have a Hellraiser animatronic.
I mean, you still have like Freddy's, and you still have your obviously Mike Myers, but I don't know. I think
it's very unprecedented in that like a lot of these franchises either haven't made movies or like okay, Halloween is playing off a character that's 40 years old, whereas like
not even 40. Yeah, he's like 90 years old.
like who's the? Well, I mean, like the first movie came out.
yeah.
Like how
70
like
whatever.
who is the last character where like it's the same character through the whole series?
Yeah.
Is Ghostface the last character that was introduced like that?
No.
Which is what the 90s like.
Oh, I see.
How many horror films have
Higher horror
Jigs,
icon?
I think
Jigsaw would be. I
which
think
is like.
that's crazy to think. Yeah.
Is that the same vein? And that was still what 20 years ago.
Yes,
Yeah.
because no. It's just getting its was it 20-year anniversary
Yeah,
or 15-year anniversary? Yeah,
Something.
20-year anniversary because we saw it in the theaters.
Yeah,
They posted on
the-
Regal.
It's very
trailer.
rare that there's an iconic killer that is consistent through the whole.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of the horror franchises now are like The Conjuring,
From the
which is like a
1900s.
parody.
Yeah.
Or
Conjuring.
if they're like a slasher, like an actual killer that has name, they started a long ass time ago.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
almost
Playing
like
off the legacy.
protagonist versus antagonist. Like we've gotten like with the Insidious movies, you've gotten the clairvoyant woman, right? Like she's kind of been a staple, and the dad, right? The dad has also been a
Patrick
staple.
Wilson.
Or
Patrick
like
Wilson.
Annabelle's a staple, but like these
She's
aren't
not
killers.
that. I mean, I will admit, he's passed up Annabelle like a long time.
Yeah, she
ago.
passed up
He passed
Annabelle.
But
Annabelle
in a
with the
different
second movie.
category.
Passed up.
Like,
Oh, I didn't even pass up. He was before, but the Megan.
Megan never even competed. If we're being completely honest,
Megan 2's coming out.
She's not. She doesn't even sit at the
She does a
table. She
TikTok
doesn't even sit at the kids' table. Like, come on.
I think Art has a spot at the table, which is crazy to say because I doubt Damien.
I hate
ever
saying it,
expected
but
that.
like, yeah, I think so too. If not now, I mean, maybe looking back, yeah.
We get to discuss who I guess sits at the table.
'Cause, like it's
who-
not a trilogy, but like just based off these first three
I
movies.
mean, it is a trilogy.
But
It
like
is.
it's not gonna end.
Yeah, it's not
here.
gonna end. As it,
But based on these first three movies, I feel like there are other franchises that. I mean, obviously, Terrifier hasn't had the time, and I don't think Damien will misstep or like you said, he wants to cut it off before it hits that point.
Yeah.
Whereas like franchises like Halloween or whatever, all those old franchises have kind of up their reputation.
it was a
over
different time
Like-
though. Like they were like,
Like their first
You
movies
know.
are really good, and then they brought it back and kind of ruined the.
Because you just only can do so much with.
And we're still in that
With
prime
it.
moment of Terrifier.
Well, you say that, but like even there's a lot of them that after like even just the second one, it kind of just like
right,
I don't
like you
know.
look
I
back
feel
at
like
Halloween,
we're in
some of the-
unprecedented territory where like it again. I can't think of just saying a trilogy where it continually went up. Like what is the last one that did that? Lord of the Rings. Like the last that
like actual like just movie in general.
like movie trilogies
Come
in
on.
general that
The
had
new
like
Star Wars. I
yeah.
knew that. I'm sorry.
All right, Jordan.
I'm gonna say,
you can
I'm
go
gonna say
outside.
is that the last trilogy that like it's progressively gotten better? Like
Star
as it
Wars?
was- no,
Oh.
like Lord of the Rings.
I have no. I don't
Oh,
know.
I mean, it just kind of depends on how you want to think about it, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Beetlejuice is on the way there.
Oh.
Halloween did the opposite. It got worse.
Well, it was
That's
like
most movies,
it
it
went
gets
like
worse.
this, and it went like this,
The
and
new
then like the
three
new
are
one got released, and it was like, oh, and then it just went back down. Like, yeah.
I agree with you. Like, not only success wise, but actual like the quality of the film. I feel like it's constantly
It's
gone
getting
up.
more
with
money.
Terrifier.
Yeah, that's what I don't know. I think that's just a more problem when it comes to just like Hollywood in general, right? You let Hollywood get their hands on
That's the
things.
thing. Damien. This is Damien's
This is
baby,
thing,
and
yeah.
he actually has love for it and cares
Yeah.
about it. It was never to make
More
that much
Yeah.
money in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Winnie the Pooh's at the head of the table.
No.
I was gonna
Yo,
say, like-
Screamboat. Hold on. Did y'all see that?
Dreamboat, that's
I saw it and I thought, yep. How do I pre-order?
How do I pre-put the credit card down?
Well, I think if we're gonna talk, I mean, do you want to talk about who's at the table? I feel like if we do, we have to know how many seats are there, right?
That could be another. I think that's a conversation for another day. I think that's a.
Okay,
yeah, I think that's a
sit,
conversation.
think
yeah.
about it. I guess
Yeah.
tell us in the comments
Who sits at the table?
who sits at the table and how many seats are at said table. I
Yeah.
feel like to have a complete table is what usually 6.
Yeah.
5 is just for I think just nice looking numbers, but like I think 6
6
because
is a
usually
good
a
number.
6-person table is
Unless you want to round Mount Rushmore, then do 4.
4.
But that's
I
kind of
think-
hard.
I think
That's
6.
really hard.
I think 6.
6 and a booster chair for second.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Yeah. See, all right.
Why is the janitor at the table?
The janitor. He's the real villain, right?
Willie's has he's like first in line to after the table to get food before Freddy Fazbear.
That's funny.
I guess wish list is right. Wish list for Terrifier 2.
4.
4.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So for Terrifier 4, honestly, I feel like I'll tell you what I don't want. I don't want an origin for Art. Like I like having him be like just this dude that nobody knows
it's just
where he came from or
Yeah.
what he's there for, but he just like murks these people.
And that's actually like if like you're going to like go into it, that's a really good like actual like psychology of horror thing. Like a lot of the
Horror movies.
yeah, a lot they end up ruining their movies because they end up and like not every horror movie like can't have an origin, right? Like it would be like it'd be kind of overdone if not everything had an origin, but like some things should, some things can. But like I agree with you. Like the horror lies in not knowing what or why this thing is.
Yeah.
And for that to happen, I think keeps that, I think that's a thing I will give it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
like, so to give you an example of someone that I think that they ruined it with that, or one of the reasons why they ruined it is Hellraiser.
Oh, Hellraiser.
I don't know.
Oh, they made them people, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're all
remember,
people that are being punished.
Yeah. I don't remember if it's the 3rd one or the 4th one, but we get introduced or we get the backstory of Pinhead.
Mm-hmm.
And
I thought that was the second one.
And no, it's not.
Because I thought she goes to the realm in the second one.
He does, or she does, but
Which is I thought they find the book in the second one.
No, in the 3rd or the 4th one, they meet like Pinhead when he's human. Like he's human.
Ooh.
He was a pilot for World War I think, and they like basically like I have to come back so that way I can defeat the evil version of me. And it's just what the f- are you talking about?
I was just
It's better off just knowing that they're just sees these things, right?
Late 80s, early 90s bad.
Yeah, I mean, and they
Or even like
Alien did that wrong with Prometheus, right?
I like Prometheus.
I like Prometheus.
I like
You like the
Prometheus.
origin? You like the origin of the aliens that they were originally from people, right? No.
I liked it.
Well, I mean, we kind of see that in other alien movies, right? When they like infect the dog or whatever.
I liked it.
I think 1 and 2. And then there we go. That's it. The other one's done. Oh, I mean, this new one's pretty good, but 1 and 2 and
yeah. But yeah. So a wish list for me, something I don't want to see
is an origin.
Is an origin.
I agree. I think it's cool.
I think, which seems silly because we as enjoy the silly stuff, like just making sure, and I don't think he would, but like not going too much into the absurd. Like again, I don't think they ever will, but like thinking back to like the 90s, how bad some of those movies were. It's like, don't make him go somewhere that he doesn't need to go, like space, like Jason X, or Manhattan, Jason,
they should make him go to space.
or
love
the hood, like Leprechaun.
They should put him in the. They should put him in the. They should get in the weed, right? They should have the smoke.
That's what they did, Leprechaun.
And he blows the smoke back in their face.
Well, no, remember he took the drink,
Yeah,
the
he
shot,
spits
he
it,
spits it back out.
Yeah,
so
it's like that.
He's straight edge. But yeah, I think for no's that would be. I don't think they would, but like that's something that can sometimes be a little silly. Which I don't think in recent memory, I don't think they've done that anymore. It's like a 90s thing. But I guess the other thing I wouldn't want to see, piggybacking off of that, like you're saying, too much into his character and or a very convoluted lore. Like, I mean, I think we can all agree the lore is still out for debate of like certain things because we're only getting like nuggets of information that we're trying to piece together, but not all the answers are there yet. So we don't even know if we have, if they have all the answers, right? Like, I don't even know if Damien, I mean, you said he knows how to end. He might, or he may be, like you were saying, trying to like, throw ideas out and try to connect them.
You can know how something ends, right? You can always know how something begins and something ends, and it's just figuring out how to get to that end point, right? So I don't doubt that he has an end, but
and whether I don't think we necessarily need it. I think the fun part about it not being translated to the audience in like a lore dump or like here's Art's entire past and this is how, like, it leaves discussions like this up for debate and like it keeps it interesting between there's this clue in this movie and there's this like.
I guess
How does that
then
all
the
tie
question
together?
is, how long can you do that before it loses? I don't think we have the answer to that because everything gets real. I don't think there's a character that we have found that doesn't have like their backstory or lore, their thing explained. Like I think at some point in every movie franchise they do. Like I mean they do. I mean Freddy, we got his backstory. Jason, we got his backstory. I mean, Jigsaw is just a man. He's an old man.
But we do get why he does it.
Yeah, we do get why he does it, but
Michael's backstory is like straight off in the first film.
he got drop kicked by Exhibit.
You know, that's why you became Michael Myers. You got drop kicked by Exhibit. No, I know what you're talking about. That's funny. That would have been a great story, right?
Insert clip here.
Yeah.
Just start pointing.
Yeah, it's like what? That one that he put. Yeah, that one you got to put in the corner. The one that he pointed at. Very good.
What do you say?
Oh no, that was stupid, but it was good. Yeah, no. Wish list for this. I kind of want them to. I don't know how they'll do it. I mean, again, I was hoping that they would do it in this one, but like one up the bedroom scene. Like I want to feel sick, right? Like I don't know.
I want them to incorporate vomit. Like
Yeah.
like that's the only thing, right?
Yeah, that's how they let. Or
pause.
it's gonna
The
stop,
far-
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna stop on the far the button that's closest to you. Yeah, click it, and then the one that's next to it, click it, and then click that one again. So we're essentially restarting the timer. Okay. Yes, like all we see, like Damien's really good about showing us like gore.
I don't know. Okay, look, that's my thing.
Other bodily fluids.
I think that's where you're kind of getting to a point where like, oh, it's just being gross to be gross, right? Like you're not really horrified at that point. You're just more like actually physically disgusted. And I don't know. I don't want to feel like
body horror.
I don't want to feel physically disgusted. I don't want to be like that's nasty. I want to be like, oh, that was
Cleveland Brown.
yeah.
Nasty.
He does talk about again. I hate to keep going with this interview, but I'm only mentioning it because I saw it today.
Well, that's fine.
He does mention like trying to find one. It's kind of become an expectation since the shower scene that like the next film has to outdo what's already been done.
Which is,
While
but I think
also,
that's
like-
scary. That's a scary thing to think about.
Like
though.
how
How
do you-
how can you outdo
before
that?
like you
Yeah.
push away the general audience? Because let's say you do something so disgusting, like you leave in that you actually see the kid get torn apart. Does that become too far? Like when does the general audience decide? Okay, you're doing it. One, you're doing it just to be like gross, I guess.
yeah.
And two, like it. Okay, we've gone too far. Like it's so nasty that
There's
like
only one way to find out, right?
Well, I think, and I'm glad that he's thinking that because it's just, I think that's a dangerous game you play. Not
It
even
is.
not even for audience, but like once you go past that point, you can't go back. And when people see and view you and your creation as like, okay, you're just doing it just to do it,
Yeah,
to try
I
to
guess,
one up,
yeah.
and then you kind of lose. Like again, we lose the credibility, we lose the aura, we lose like what made it special, you know.
And that's a thing, like in actual horror, like itself right now. There's like those really unknown films where people just try to push things for shock factor as much as they go, and it's like that's a whole nother discussion for another day. But yeah,
I think he's done a good job keeping art consistent and
Yeah.
keeping a consistent tone without going too far one way. And he mentions in that same interview that like certain like directors or whatever, it's nice to like watch your own movie and see people laughing to it or whatever.
Mhm.
And he mentions he puts the opening scene in there to remind people that like even though we're all watching it and we're rooting for art, like he's basically a hero. Like he's the star of the show. while
He's
we're
the
just-
hero.
I wouldn't say he's a hero. I wouldn't say he's a hero. He's a
That's
star.
how it
He's a
works,
star.
man.
He's a star. He's a
Well,
star.
like you're rooting for him. You don't want him to die. Like
Right.
and
I want to see that clown.
he talks about how like the intro's in there because even though he does funny stuff throughout the movie or whatever, like it's a reminder that he's a shitty person and like he
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
be trusted. He's gonna do outrageous shit that crosses the line.
Yeah,
So like
That's-
I guess my hope is that it stays that way.
It will.
It doesn't get too funny.
Mhm.
Or like I feel like there's a good balance between
Yeah, he
all
has
the
a good-
different things.
Yeah.
Just not running out of I guess not ideas, but yeah, I guess at a certain point.
I mean, there's so many ways you can kill someone, right? Like he can find a
There's a
way,
lot
right?
of branches too.
There's
Just take
so
the
many.
more-
Yeah, there's so many ways.
Bring back Jonathan.
Bring
kill
back
him again.
John. Yeah, kill him
Yeah.
again. There's. I don't doubt that this guy like
Mhm.
will find a way.
Speaking
to
of wish list, my fear is that Gabby falls into the underworld or wherever.
so she's gonna have to go to the underworld.
I'm
and that
hoping
makes
that
me
the
a little.
whole movie does not take place there.
I don't think it
I
would.
don't want it to be like an entire the way like the lore is really like mythical and stuff. I don't want the whole movie to be
like a fantasy kind of.
Right.
Actually, I wouldn't mind that.
But I'm also like into that stuff,
Yeah,
right?
I know,
Like
yeah.
I'm into the more fantastical kind of things.
I mean,
so
Terrifier
like
is still on Earth, so we have to.
Right. So, but like if the movie takes place in hell and we get like a Dante's Inferno type of thing,
that's fair.
With that.
I think as long as it's not too like
well,
fantasy.
Well, I think that's gonna. I honestly, as much as I would personally like to see that too, I don't think that would be good for like a general audience view, right? Because that'll take it into more like a serious tone, right? Like, how can you make hell funny, right? Unless, I mean, without it being
put art
absurd.
down there.
Yeah, I mean, but like, how can you make like you know?
I think my concern would be, and it's that's the word I'm looking for. Not counter. It counters its own argument or my own argument, but you don't want to go too much into the fantasy side of it, because that was one thing that took me out of the second movie, was with the sword and the introduction of that.
Which is fair.
Which I feel like which makes it sound even weirder that the quote unquote demonology still gave it some ground, because like it's a supernatural thing, but not a fantasy thing. But some people think it's fantasy, right? But if you were to take it to that location, going back to what I said before, of like going somewhere that I probably don't feel like you need to go to, like again with Hellraiser 2, going actually into the box and like going through that, like interesting at the time, but like
it's probably
just kind of like I don't know, just kind of I feel like and I said this, I think was it Willie's, where it removes me from the idea of realism, right? Even though it's not real, like it puts me out, and it's just a different movie entirely if you do that. I don't know.
Yeah, which is fair.
I mean, they have to bring. Obviously, we know that, assuming based on the way this one ends, that like Gabby's going to be a main focal point.
She's gonna be the new Valkyrie or something, right?
I think of it more like that's going to be the plot. Is Sienna trying to figure out how to get Gabby back?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be the main thing.
Which I think is going to be the big worrisome part, is you're going to have more Sienna doing things, which is going to be probably less art time.
Yeah.
Which is going
how do you get back there, I guess? Like, how does Sienna find Gabby, and how does Art find
I think
her?
you have to
put more screen time with Sienna.
More screen time with Sienna. I think she has to meet
and Art's going to have to be more of a backseat to the movie, which I hope, people are obviously will be deterred from that, right? Because that's why people watch the movie for art.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Because I'm assuming we're gonna find out more about like
she's gonna have to be the research
and like whatever was possessing.
She's gonna have to be the researching one again. If they remove Jonathan from the equation, she has to do the thing she has done zero thing, which is do research and find people that know more about this. Which she's gonna have to do more finding and digging about her dad. We got a little bit of dad lore in this one, and I thought it was really important and interesting that like. On the second viewpoint of it, again, we noticed that he is slowly visually, like he is sicker, right? Because that was the idea from the last movie, that he was sick, especially like both like maybe physically, but also mentally. And he, like at one point when he gave her the drawing, like he went into that like blank stare like she did when she was seeing that thing, and like wouldn't let go of the painting. And then when he did, then we had potentially the portal opening behind a door and like the door rattling, right? Because it was like
find out more about
and so I think that's important because it showcases that whatever is bothering her now and working against her potentially has been working against her since she's been a kid, and maybe the dad has had to deal with it. Maybe the dad has had some sort of interaction with.
He's also
art.
in hell.
Don't they imply that they're gonna get like a bad person?
No.
Towards the end, like because they do mention that he was very abusive towards Sienna. Yeah. Well, even in the second movie, they say that he was very abusive towards Sienna as he started to like
get
decline.
Because then Gabby mentions, I don't know if it has to do with just like the sword lore or whatever, but she mentions like after she reads the diary, is all that stuff about your dad true?
Which
we don't know
assuming
what's written in there.
But they also said,
assuming has like her abuse.
Did they say he cracked? Like in the second one, granted, this was from the girl that she sees. I already forgot her name, but like the ending of him was that he crashed into like a power source, and the car caught on fire, and they could hear him screaming. So I don't know.
I'm sure we'll find out more.
We'll find out. Yeah.
So whatever that was behind that door was not the immediate demise of him.
I do think Art needs to be on screen a lot, which is another contrast to like in a lot of slashers, the killer comes out for the kill and then like a lot of the screen time isn't spent on them.
Yeah.
Whereas like here we see like the
You
side
see him a lot,
adventure of
yeah.
him going to the tavern, him being at the mall as Santa Claus. Like
Just what he's doing, right, all the time.
more of the screen time is on
Yeah.
following him than it is
On the
following
protagonist.
Santa. Yeah.
Right, and I think that was some complaints from some people was that they felt like the story didn't get to maybe fully develop because it felt like it was more on him
Who
than
gives a
them.
Like, what?
There were some people complaining.
Some people actually want the story. They're like, oh man, this is way
They
too
want the
good.
lore.
They want the lore.
coming from the guy that missed the 5-minute lore dump at the beginning of Late Night with the Devil.
Exactly.
He's like, what? They told you about this?
It
Like
wasn't
the first
important.
5 minutes. The only thing they talked about for 5 minutes was lore dump.
It wasn't important.
You play D&D with this guy. He misses the entire backstory. I want to open the chest.
The chest says do not open. This is why I'll open the chest.
I opened the chest.
Now the question is, before we move on from this topic, now that Gabby fell wherever she fell, is this an opportunity to bring back old characters, or are we against that?
Oh.
What do you mean, old characters?
Like, is there a possibility that wherever the underworld is, or wherever the hell she ends up, that there's characters that have also been killed off?
Talking about like,
Maybe.
Whether it's Jonathan or whether it's some other.
I feel like if you
character.
killed off Jonathan, that's going to be what ends up happening. Is Jonathan's going to play a role
In the
there?
Like if it is hell or whatever, like
Yeah.
wherever we end up,
Yeah.
are there other characters that have been killed or abducted or that we maybe thought we would never see again?
I mean,
I feel like
Maybe.
The
so
mom. Here we go.
the mom.
this-
Just
like
her cursing.
like-
Yeah.
The dad.
That's what I,
Yeah.
I was like, maybe the dad, but
yeah.
Although the dad low key didn't seem like he had like that significant, like, I don't know, maybe just how he played it, but it didn't seem like, I mean, it was for the lore, but he didn't seem like he's gonna have
a significant
a
role.
significant role. Like it was just kind of like, hey, we're just gonna hire this guy real quick and speak some lines, you know.
So this may be me just talking, but I feel like in my mind, okay, so let me start again. Hold on. So this may be me just like talking just to talk, right? In theory, craft, whatever, right? I mean, this is kind of fun. This is like what, you know, most podcasts are anyways. But I feel like in the fourth movie, I think it would be kind of hard to make a fifth, right? So I feel like I personally feel like the fourth one is the
final.
end, is the final one. And so I feel like whatever arena or whatever the freak that the final like
Battle,
Sienna
yeah.
versus whatever, right? Whether it's art or the like manifestation of this demon, I feel like
It'll take place in the underworld.
not only will it take place in the underworld, but we'll get some kind of reference to like almost every kill that's happened on screen.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
Like I like that in my mind.
So I
that
think
would
go all in on that. Yeah.
that I feel like that would be the way if they did bring any of the characters back. That's how they would do it.
They would
right?
they all kill Art in the same way that they died. That'd be crazy, right?
Well, I was thinking more of like a gallery, right? Like
Oh,
all of
yeah,
the
yeah.
bodies that we've seen on screen and like the way that
The question is,
Yeah.
art? I guess this is less of a wish list and more of like a.
I mean,
Because
we're already in
mentioned
here.
how
yeah.
many movies? do you
Yeah,
think
we're
there's gonna
already.
be? One, I guess my thing is, I do think it's possible that the fourth is the end one. The question is, whereas like you were talking about part one, do we get a 2.5 hour number 4, or do we
I
get
hope
an
not.
hour and a half number 4 and an hour and a half number 5? Like,
yeah.
Oh, I hope
and
not.
also like, does art even die? Is that the conclusion of this? Does art ever die?
I don't know. I think we could get 4 and get a 5th by potentially not necessarily him escaping again, because that's not the right word, but essentially her finding Gabby. I think that's the most important thing, is she's going to have to get Gabby back. But then what follows it, like if she thinks she's going to be able to end it, but then something else gets in the way from her being able to completely finish the job. And then that potentially could lead us to, quote unquote, the arena or the next thing for the last movie.
Whose comedy is this though? Is it Damien's writing? That's like, is this like
It's his
comedy,
writing,
or is
yeah.
it someone? Yeah, I
I'm
was
pretty
like,
sure it's him.
he's like,
He's writing all of it.
Art slaps you in the back of the head during this scene.
Yeah.
I think that's improv the first
Improv.
time he did it, and then from there it was like just
Yeah.
keep
He does mention like Santa. A lot of the Santa lines are improv. Like the actor is just going with it.
So okay, so that's my thing. I'm like, can Damien make like a serious like movie? You think, like, you know what I mean? Or does he have to keep making like these like horror comedies?
No,
Is that
I
like his-
mean, I think.
If you were to make
What is
something
his
else,
filmography? Doesn't he? He has something else, doesn't he?
I don't think he has anything serious. He has The Mummy versus Frankenstein and The Mummy is Back.
come on, bro.
Terrifier is like this.
Yeah,
Terrifier guy.
So I think he's gonna stay in the horror comedy genre, maybe.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I wonder after. Okay, like we're saying, like he said, there's gonna be a couple more.
Who did
movies
the Grinch?
for
Him?
No.
Oh.
Like, do we
the guy
know-
that played Art
Wasn't him.
Do we know, like, if he, let's say Art dies or doesn't, and he takes a break from Terrifier, do we think, based on how successful this movie is, like the money that's coming in, does he just take a break,
I would.
film?
I
Like
feel
a
like
complete hiatus?
Yeah,
No, I feel
he'll come back with something.
let's write Art comic books. Come on, let's get.
They did.
Did they?
Yeah.
Do we get an Art universe like a?
I think it was only
Terrifier
like a
universe?
couple issues. It wasn't like a long term thing. It was just like a couple issues.
The Adventures of Victoria. Come on.
I don't know. I don't want. I mean, like I said, I think these movies are shitty, right? But like, I can see the appreciation for it, and I think the more you milk the series, the less of that happens, right? I think he has a very conclusive point of where he wants to end it, and I hope he kind of keeps it there.
He's gonna keep it there. I think he said that he's wanted to do that, and that's.
So
I think that's smart. He's not. I mean, I don't think anybody's outright like Universal or any of these people are trying to buy his IP, but like I think even if they did, he would probably still say no because he wants a giant hand in it. I think he knows if he does let it go that it's gonna get ruined. You can't do things.
You can't give it to the execs.
he probably keeps more of the money this way anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he does. Why would he even need a distributor like that at this point, right? Like he doesn't. He's shown it himself. Whatever he's working with, whoever he's working with, is doing just fine.
So where do we go after Terrifier? What does he do after?
I don't know.
He has another. You can
Another
franchise.
like,
Or not even a
slasher
franchise.
guy.
He could just come with another movie. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to. Everything you do doesn't have to be a franchise. It could just
Yes,
be a
I
one.
completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that's when some people
And
make
then-
their best
And-
films.
Right, and then that's where like a lot of these downfall of different movies come in, like Joker.
Yeah.
Right,
Oh,
the first
yeah.
movie was great.
It
Why
was-
the did they think it would be?
Well, I
so
heard.
such a good movie
I
like
mean,
the
I think
second
it's come out now. I think they pretty much like. It was who was it?
Todd Phillips.
Yeah, no, whoever was in charge at the
That guy.
time.
Yeah.
Basically like told Todd Phillips like I think it's Christopher Nolan like don't do this stuff, and I guess he had still word at DC, and then he's gone, and so then Todd Phillips was like, oh look, it was a success, and then they gave him all the power, and then he was able to do whatever
That's
he
the
wanted.
worst.
And even like I think James Gunn like even told him some certain things not to do, and he just kind of like
Nah, I'm gonna do what I want. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what ended up happening. Todd Phillips basically had too much power, and then we got what we got.
And this is a good topic to like. I haven't seen the movie yet. Thank
I
God.
haven't either. I'm not.
But I've read that a big reason the movie's bad, besides like people not like, besides the musical aspect of it, like not that musicals are bad, but like
musicals are bad.
why bring it into Joker? But two, I heard the ending is really bad, and I guess that ties into like if let's say Terrifier 5 is the end, if the ending is really bad, did that ruin the whole?
I think
Does all of it ride on that?
I think
ending?
it runs into the potential
Yeah.
of, because sometimes when you end with such a bad taste in your mouth, I wouldn't say it completely ruins all the other movies, but I think you're gonna get a lot of fans that get really upset, and
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna have that issue no matter what, with how much popularity it's gonna get and how much like some of the fans are really.
no one's gonna be happy.
Yeah,
at the
I
end.
think-
No matter how it ends, nobody's gonna like it.
Yeah.
Or not everybody's gonna.
Because I feel like Joker 2 ruins Joker almost. Like
Yeah, that's what they said. It basically like whatever you potentially liked about it in the first one, they kind of
Cut out,
almost
yeah.
not they cut out, but they almost basically made you to where you wouldn't like this one because it was they like completely did it the opposite.
Because then you have to like watch the first one and be like, okay, it's really good and I like this ending, even though it's not the actual final ending. We just pretend like that film doesn't exist.
And that happens like with
What was
stuff, right?
that movie? There was what movie was that? It was like a franchise too that did that. We just kind of pretend.
All the
It doesn't
Halloween.
It's like a lot of movies that there's a lot of franchises.
Halloween
that
has like
happen,
5
yeah.
different branches.
Oh no, it's freaking no, it's not that. Although I think this all the time. But the anime I think with Naruto is like as soon as it ends with like they could just end after the Akatsuki. Like that's like the main like
Thing.
big storyline and the arc. It's like you could have just ended there and it would have been fine. But that wasn't the one I was thinking of. No, there's another one where we all universally say just you don't go past that one. Honestly, I guess it's Star Wars, right? Like Star
Oh,
Wars.
yeah.
After episode 6, that's it.
Yeah.
There's no 7, 8, 9. It's all in your brain. It's
Yeah.
all, there's some characters that somehow magically appear in the universe, but like
They just don't exist. It's someone's fan fiction.
Now we got all the TV series.
Oh.
I don't know. Dark Plagueis, they made him canon and then they ruined it. He got canceled.
Darth Plagueis.
He is the Palpatine's master.
I don't know. I haven't kept up with
The
series in a
prequel
long
trilogy is
time.
the best.
It's gonna bother me. It
I haven't
wasn't.
kept up in forever.
It wasn't
That was
that.
before Disney bought Star Wars. I'm pretty
Darth
sure.
Plagueis?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
It's
Yeah,
a book or what?
Yeah, no, yeah, they came
Oh,
out.
I've never read a Star Wars book. Like
He was
I don't even
literally-
read.
He was name dropped in the second one, right?
The first movie.
The first movie. Have you heard? No, it's the
The third
second.
one.
Oh,
third or
yeah,
second.
yeah,
The third
yeah.
one.
He's in the first one. Then
He does a little bit more in the second.
I don't think he's in the second at all, but in the third
Darth
one, that he's in
Sidious.
the. Have you ever heard there's
Yeah.
the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Yeah.
So let's sell Terrifier to Disney.
Yeah, honestly, that'd be
I
great.
don't know what to do with it.
It's gonna bother me. It wasn't that though. There was another franchise or movie where I
Well, he's
never-
also technically in the third one in the scene, so this is completely off the rails. You don't have to keep any.
keep
of
this.
Keep it
But
in
so
there.
in the third movie, whenever the Jedi Masters go to arrest Chancellor Palpatine, the door that they entered through is flanked by two vases. Darth Plagueis' dead body is in one of those vases.
Darth Plagueis.
Yeah, Sidious keeps him around to help harvest his dark side energy. Yeah, like if you get into like the actual lore of Star Wars, it's crazy, dude. It's cool. Star Wars is
It's
cool.
like look at movie.
I know what it is now. I know what it is now. I think it was it wasn't this. This was another one I think of. I'd say on it. I'm like the original, the TV series. I'm like just watch the kids part. You don't need to watch the adult part because I'm like giant Spider Man. Like I was just kind of like
Spider-Man.
Spider Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Any other thoughts, or do we just?
I think we just cut it there.
So there was some stuff that was cut out. Unfortunately, Amanda's phone died. So
Because she doesn't charge it.
She doesn't charge it.
And
So
if you would please, everybody in the comments, write Amanda, please charge your phone. That would be fantastic. That would help us out a lot on our end.
yeah, but if you enjoyed this, please let us know. You know that we did take a different kind of approach to this. So if you guys like this more than the way we usually do our films, please let us know. We
Yeah.
would appreciate that.
Yeah. Any other feedback too? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the algorithm stuff. This episode is going to be sandwiched between our regular scheduled releases.
This is emergency drop.
Okay, so then, yes, if you did like the format of, just like Justin was saying, if you did like the format of this podcast episode more, feel free to let us know. If you disagree with any of our points or you agree with our points, feel free to let us know too. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the algorithm stuff. It'll really help us out. And we'd really appreciate it. But until then, y'all have a nice day.
Thank you.
You changed your rating yet?
2 out of 10.
You're 2 out of 10.